welcome to a very special edition of Going Free. It's very special because I am most excited to announce that we have a brand new feature on my No White Guilt channel, and that is channel memberships. Channel memberships are for everyone who serves white well-being, irrespective of immutable characteristics such as race or the races of your loved ones or your sexual orientation or whatever your checkered past might be, because we are a movement of redemption and we welcome everyone who wants to bring order, tranquility, and safety to Western civilization by restoring physical, mental, and spiritual harmony to Western kind. Now, by joining the channel, you will become a member and you will be given such perks as a badge, a membership badge. And that badge is in the shape of an embolden, which is a shape that is very special and has deep meaning to the story of Prometheus rising and deep meaning for those of us who are serving white well-being. That shape, when you become a member, is quite faint, and then over time it darkens, distinguishing those of you who have been members of the channel from those who are brand new members, eventually reaching its full depiction by your name. Another interesting, fun perk of being a member is member-only emojis, which I'm going to be counting on all of you to make. If you make these emojis, you submit these to me, and I like them, and they don't threaten the channel, we will add them to the repertoire of emojis that our members only will be able to have access to. And finally, as a channel member, you will have access by way of the community tab on YouTube to special announcements that are for members only, pictures that are for members only, and this sort of thing as well. So this is going to be something that we are going to be putting into effect in the next few days, I believe. If YouTube gives us the green light, we will have to wait and see. But very excited to be talking about this today with all of you and whatever else you all might like to talk about. It's going to be a brief going free, but I did want to come on and let you all know about this new membership option and your ability to participate in this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to really be able to, as I say, distinguish yourself with this badge that will appear by your name when you make comments, this embolden. And the longer you are a member, the darker it will get, and distinguishing yourself from those who are not members of the channel. I think that the price is $1.99 a month. Bear in mind that YouTube is taking at least 30% of that $1.99, but nonetheless, quite cheap, quite inexpensive to be able to kind of up the level of what we're able to do here on the channel, how you are able to interact with the community and interact with me as well. Not only with the badge that will go alongside of your name when you make comments, but also with the special emojis that no one else will have access to. So you will also be distinguishing yourself, and who knows, we'll have some that will be funny. Maybe we'll have somebody create an emoji of our new walrus friend that we showed on the channel the other day when Jared George and I were together on not this past after hours, but the one before that. So we could have any number of things. Maybe we'll have somebody make an emoji of the retired rat from the show we were doing with Mark this week on the alt-right. But it looks like it'll be a lot of fun, and it is something that I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of because YouTube, perhaps by accident, has offered this to me, and I'm going to grab the reins and run with it. Let's let them take it away from me. It's better to have more things out there for them to take than fewer. So we'll go ahead and move forward with this. We were, again, just censored off of Streamlabs, and so we're going to be working at that again to rectifying that situation and getting back on that platform as sneakily as we can. But we're going to be doing that, but we're going to be doing this as well. So if there's anything you all would like to talk about this channel membership option, what will happen is there will be a badge under the videos when they play. It'll say join channel or something of this nature, and you'll click on that. You'll see a brief introductory video, a screen that will show you exactly what kind of perks you get and what and where you have to sign up for those perks. And of course, these list of emojis will increase over time. I don't know if there's an upper limit. Maybe we can have any number of emojis created by you all. And again, I would like you all, I don't have the ability to create emojis, so I'll be looking for your artistic talents. But it's going to have to be something that is going to fit with white well-being, not with antiquated vernaculars and ideologies, economies, governments, etc. And it's also going to have to be something that is not going to threaten the channel. So no sort of groiper thing that could potentially threaten the channel because it has some allusion to a particular group of people or something of this nature that are objected to by some of those who call themselves groypers. I also want to talk today while we're briefly together, because I got to get right back to work for White Wellbeing. This is the time when I live for our people and when I can make things happen. And so busily working away, I want to make sure that you all know, if you've sent me messages by way of email, sent me messages by way of nowhiteguilt.org, or sent me messages by way of nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com. I am catching up on all of those. I have responded to well over, oh my gosh, probably nearly 200 over the past couple days. And look at your spam. If you have sent me a message on either of those three, look at your spam folder if you don't see those, to make sure it hasn't been shunted into one of these places and you're just missing it. Filling all of the orders, of course, those who have asked for leaflets to distribute, God bless you. You're doing the Lord's work, the work of the biospirit of the West. And those are going to be in the mail to you tomorrow. So there are hundreds and hundreds of these going out around the world. So they will be getting distributed. We just had a gentleman, if he shows up tonight, let us know that he is spotted some stickers. I think that's a No White Guilt and maybe the website or something in one part of the world. And if he is here, he can let us know about these being spotted and obviously perfectly legal places. Maybe he can get a photograph of one of these and share it with us, and we can share and celebrate in the great work that he is doing to advance going free and serving white well-being. This channel membership is part of that. We want, when people show up, for them to see that there is a committed community. And as always, like in all things, we are always on interview with our brothers and sisters. They show up, they're looking to us. What kind of people are these? They're looking for the markers of what it means to be someone who cares about white well-being. And for them, those markers are going to come from their memory of the anti-white narrative. We are none of those things. And we are not going to head on over, as I've said before, to anti-white theater and head into their costume room and say, what do we wear if we care about white well-being? And then head into the room where they keep the scripts and ask them, what vernacular are we supposed to use when we care about white well-being? White well-being and service to white well-being looks the way we want it to look. It sounds the way we want it to sound, because it is our story. We are writing that story, and things are getting more exciting, more powerful, more energetic every single day. We have a new article that Samantha Fox, the wonderful and lovely Samantha Fox, found yet another article that I will be bringing to your attention, I think, on this coming Sunday's proper Going Free at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll talk about that. We are, of course, there mentioning one of these leaflets created by John. I don't know who distributed it, but John, and we'll be talking about some of John's great heroism this coming Sunday as well. We're not exactly primed to be able to talk about those things at the moment, but he is doing great work. This leaflet, whether it was distributed by him or sent out to someone and then distributed by someone else, has reached the media. They're talking about it, and it's truly beautiful to see this, the cover of Born Guilty on this leaflet that is photographed, that is being circulated on Facebook pages and the like, because it is confounding the anti-whites. It is completely out of their narrative. They don't know how to approach it. It is impossible to say that this imagery is, and this verbiage, this dialectic, that these people are anything like the antagonists in the anti-white narrative. The author of this piece says as much. These are a completely different group of people. They are not the people that we can just simply shunt and categorize into this little box and put a stamp on it and say that it's okay to punch it. It's okay to unlawfully jail it. It's okay to go violate the law and go beyond and arrest and prosecute and sentence to something more than the law requires, or even if that law was actually broken, requires. We are a new people. We are creating a people out of the deracinated race of the white race. And this is Western kind. We are Westmen. We are the ones who are going to bring back our destiny. And 2020 and this decade moving forward is the decade, the year in the decade that we are going to be doing that. Hopefully this channel membership option will remain around for quite a little while and help to serve in that process of making this a fun community where people can be acknowledged for their participation. And there are some additions to this community participation vehicle that I will be exploring in the coming months, some ways to get more recognition for those who are participating and the good work that they are doing in the service to white well-being. We all deserve to be recognized for the work that we do. We all deserve to be patted on the back, whether it's just a good word, a literal pat on the back, or a few dollars, whatever it might be, to help in service to white well-being. We all have been called. We all are the apostles of service to white well-being. We are going to be the ones, this community of several thousand, and with of that several thousand, several diehard hundred. We are the apostles who are going to be preaching this message of redemption, of love and truth and protection of white children to the world of our brothers and sisters and to all of the non-white peoples who are willing to listen and participate in service to white well-being. You are truly the heroes, and we are going to be doing this together. I also want to talk about and get some tips from you all about what kind of machine or machines or equipment I should have to be able to live stream while I'm on the road. I don't need the answers now, but certainly if people have some recommendations while we are talking today, as I say briefly, absolutely no more than an hour, because I have a great bit of work to do. If you have some suggestions there, you can make them now and we can talk about that. You can pose other questions. I will speak to those. I will be looking, of course, at all of the different platforms around me momentarily and addressing your interests, concerns, questions, suggestions. But if you want to do some research about what would be the best sort of machines that I should have when I am on the road to be able to live stream to you all, I want to be able to travel increasingly this year and in this totality of this decade, and yet be able to still live stream continually, regularly with you all without missing a beat, irrespective of where I am on planet Earth, in service to white well-being, so that we can stay together and connected, and we don't have these blackouts where I go to speak to a handful, a dozen, several score, or even a couple hundred somewhere at some location, and then you all miss out on what's taking place until we get a video that comes out later. We need to keep this engine running. We need to keep the steam pumping through this machine so that we can get this message out to folks, because we know the anti-whites are going to be doing everything they can to throttle our throats and to prevent this from happening. Doesn't matter what they do. And the more they get drunk on their increasing power, the hegemony that they now experience, the purity spiraling that we're seeing in anti-whiteism, the different groups that are beginning to look at each other in this infernal anti-white coalition that is only a coalition in appearance, the more they begin to look at each other as enemy, as competitor, as jealous of each other's accomplishments and envious of the things that they possess. We see that event horizon approaching, and we know that our opportunities are going to be presenting themselves, and we know that we won't know what exactly they're going to look like ahead of time. So we have to be maximally ready for those moments, and that is only going to be able to be achieved by creating this organizational entity that I have been working on for a very long time and continue to work on as much as possible. Certainly with all of the liquidity that we can get to make this sort of thing happen, something very different than what we've seen come before. And all of you reaching out to these people who we know are blind, they're vagues, they have no idea what's going on. But as soon as this curative contagion of going free reaches them, they begin to go free, and they'll be able to help those who in their lives to go free as well. So I will take a look at the things you all are saying, and we will have a little dialect going back and forth and see what is happening here today. I see Full English says so gay to something. I hope it's something. I hope he means happy. I see Roy Danton is here. Great to see you. El Ronder is here. Of course, the great Seaver Hamlin is here. Art Maker over here. This is on the gardening channel. Wonderful to see you good people over there. Tim is over there as well. 50 Shades is over there as well. Great to see you all. Who do we see over here? ETI is here. Wonderful to see you. the great Mrs. Jess Horst. What a wonderful participant here again. Annika O'Brien is here. Wonderful to see you. A woman who is very bright, business owner, accomplished person, and going free, seeing the light, and moving toward that mountaintop with the rest of us. Great to see you. Pants Monster is here. Great to see you. Who else do we have here? Classy Activism. Wonderful to see you. White Healing. Chain Reaction. Leah's here. Wonderful to see you. Goyle. Gone Wild. She Got Pink Socked. So many great folks are over here in the No White Guilt channel. Spencer's Thoughts. Never Felt Guilty. Forgotten Patriot. Equinox. Wonderful to see you. Is that Euphema I saw go by? Great to see you. The great Imminent Rain, a Promethean hails to you, my dear friend. Imminent Rain, of course, will, as a musician of just eminent talent, he is making an album, and it's a 10-part album where he is telling the story of Prometheus rising in music, and it has been truly magnificent work so far. And we are going to continue to see magnificent things from him. His pieces are on available on this channel. They are in the No White Guilt community or playlist, I think it's called White Wellbeing community playlist rather. And so are some of Four Null's pieces that are kind of mixing some of Prometheus Rising with sort of this space odyssey theme. Very interesting stuff. Wonderful to see you here, brother. So Mr. Booga's here. Sedinsky Lawson, great to see you. Don't see you as often, but it's always wonderful to see you. Taylor is here. Reptile is here. Wonderful folks. So let me take a look at what you all are saying. And if you all have any questions, I believe Entropy is already up and running. So I don't have to worry about that. I think I took care of that. We do have a question on the Entropy widget, which is from Chain Reaction. Any chances I can send you Ko-fi and you use it to donate me a subscription? Sorry for being difficult. I wonder if I can do that. I'll look into it. I don't know that content creators on YouTube are able to do that, but I'll definitely look into that. And if that is possible, I will certainly do it. I wonder, too, if we can find out if there is an issue with folks and their concern over whether or not they should, I guess, give your names, give your credit card numbers to YouTube. I wonder if we can figure out a way with, I guess, maybe those what are those credit cards where you prepay and then you're able to use those, and I wouldn't think that you would have to use your names on that, but I don't know. I've never tried this, and if any of you do try this with YouTube and it works out, let us know so that we can all imitate this. This is one of the reasons why the anti-whites absolutely abhor us talking to each other across around the world, across national boundaries, across state boundaries. They hate it because they know that when somebody finds out how to do X, Y, or Z, or to undermine or circumvent or whatever it might be over in this part of the globe, they can then communicate it to the rest of us, and we can immediately all begin imitating and duplicating what that person has discovered. It magnifies our intelligence many times over. It prevents us from being isolated, which of course is what the anti-whites would like to do more than anything else. So if somebody figures out how to do that, let's talk about it and let's get that information out there. I see Punisher is over there on the gardening channel. And so let's see what else is here. Eminent Rain says it's okay to be a shape-shifting ghost. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Inside joke. Maybe we'll have to have an emoji to a shape-shifting ghost. That would be funny, especially now that I think that she's recovered and doing much better, so we can laugh about it now. Annika says she can help with that, I guess, helping with Seaver says, is anyone else's video skipping? Well, I wonder if it's skipping over here. I don't know. It looks like the stream is healthy, very healthy, as healthy as it gets according to this metric. So I apologize, it's not on my end. Oh, Annika perhaps could help with the on the road, being on the road, and live streaming. So that would be good. Yeah, I would really like to know what kind of machinery I could have. Okay, yeah, she says, yeah, she could help with that. I would really like to know what kind of machinery I could have so that I could stay in touch and it wouldn't be just like this horrible, phone in front of my face. That would not be the same effect whatsoever. Pamela is here and says, I missed the membership details. No, Michael, please repeat. I will repeat before we wrap up because I imagine folks will be settling in here. And as I said, don't want to stay really an hour, maybe just, it depends on how many folks show up. And I will continue the conversation with you all if there are questions and things that we can discuss, details of perhaps conversations, arguments, things that we can help each other out with, and therefore move the ball forward a little bit down the field when it comes to going free. We have a question here about any update on DLive issues. I haven't reapplied to DLive yet, but I will. Essentially, what happened to bring everybody up to date was that I had passed well beyond the criteria for an affiliate membership with DLive, which is the lowest level of membership that they offer to content creators. And I applied for that membership, and the company was sold from whatever was Chinese or Turkish or whoever owned it to a Chinese man. I'm sure he's a wonderful person in California. And as soon as it was sold to him, my membership was denied, and I received an email from the DLive, I guess the anti-whites at DLive, stating that these are the reasons why you have been rejected, and they left the space blank. They then did the exact same thing to JF. So it was not like just a strange quirk or an accident. Yeah, I think it may well be that this gentleman who purchased the company is radically anti-white, and his interest is to shut down all white positive speech. And the ones who have not been shut down doesn't mean that they are being government controlled or anything stupid like that. It just means that they haven't figured them out yet. They don't know exactly. For example, Poseidon is rolling, and Jeff of White Art Collective is rolling, and whoever else might be rolling over there and making hay while they can. Let's hope it continues forever and that they continue to grow. It just means that I was identified, that JF was identified as those who might speak about white well-being or just white positivity in general. And this gentleman doesn't want that on the platform. Once again, proving that the owner always gets his way. The person who's signing the checks always gets his way. And it amazes me to no end how many people think that there is some sort of democratic process that takes place in businesses, or some sort of democratic process that takes place even in democracies. I mean, it is the depth of naivete that we, and probably something genetic within us, that we project who and what we are onto everyone else that is out there in the world. Psychopaths, sociopaths, people with different biospirits, and they simply are not feeling the things that you think they're feeling. And so you think that there's some sort of democratic process. The owner could be opposed by everyone in his company, and they would all still have to obey him or her in the end. And ownership doesn't have to be this idea that it gets meddled or muddled up into some sort of turbid a mess where you can't find who really the owner is. Whoever has controlling share, whoever has controlling power is the owner. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It doesn't matter if there's a plurality that opposes him, because they could never become united in business. This just doesn't work that way. The owner gets what they want. I've worked with business owners for a long time. That's all that matters, that whether or not the owner is right or wrong. Pamela, I want to also say to you that I'm going to be reaching back out to you shortly, because the address that you gave me, I'm going to be emailing you probably tonight. The address that you gave me is one that the post office is willing to send your materials to, but it doesn't show up on their records that such an address exists. They think that when it gets out there, that the post office out there might know the location, but I would, if it's possible, if you could clear it up when I send you the message, and try to make sure that we have an address that they will identify at the post office. And this is the United States Post Office, not any of the other private carriers. Let's see, what else do we have here? Seaver is saying that privacy.com lets you make burner cards anonymous, and it works great. So let's see, let's have somebody try this to set up a channel membership with one of these burner cards. And then if this works, Seaver, if we could please just put together a pithy set of instructions, where to buy the card or where to pick up the card, and the process, 1 through 3. This is how you do it. And then we'll post this so that folks can know how they can participate without having to give away their identities to the Google monster that is prying over everyone's shoulders these days. I see the great JT Smith is here. Is Josh Who platform no good then? I don't know about it. I have a membership on it, and I haven't started loading anything to it yet because I'm just infinitely too busy to maintain more platforms at the moment with everything else that I'm doing. So I think you can only upload, right? You can't stream there yet. Is that right, or am I wrong? Let me know. And we will attend to that. 1 second while I attend to this. And we will keep rolling. Let's see. The stream, everything looks good and strong over here. If you all are having any more issues, let me know. I will pull up refresh these screens over here, and we will see if you have any questions or comments before. I want to make sure we get everything before we get out of here tonight. All right, this looks clear over here. And let's try, yeah. We look good on all of these. So I don't know if we should, maybe we can play a song here tonight as well, or something from the White Wellbeing playlist. If you all have any requests, I do need to address this audio card issue, and I hope to do that before the TAP party late February. We will be 2 years old, and we are very excited about that. I would like to, at least I'm thinking about potentially streaming again, as we did throughout the totality of the day, but then toward the night here on the East Coast, we will transition off of YouTube and onto all of the other platforms where we will play music that is owned by other people, and we will have our own little party. It won't, YouTube won't be able to shut us down because we won't be streaming there. So you might want to get your access on DLive or any of the other platforms that we're on, that we are streaming on, for example, right now at this very moment, so that you are prepared for that moment in late February when we switch off of YouTube and we start playing, which I'm guessing will be mostly 80s rock and things that things might get wild at that point. I know I've had some requests for dancing, and especially since I have admitted to being able to dance, and who knows? I don't know. We're not going to have a dance off. Jared and I are not going to have a competition dancing, but we may well. There may be some dancing. Who knows? So we haven't. I'm just looking back through these pieces to see if there's any that we haven't played in a while. That some music that you all might like. And I don't know if we should play something rocking, or maybe one of Luke's Mason pieces, Eminent Rain, since he is here tonight with us, would be good. Oh, you know which one we haven't done again? We've only done once, is the Fernell and Hyrith's A Sleeper's Dream. That's a good one. So maybe we should play that again. That wouldn't be bad at all. But we shall see before the evening is over. We have a super chat here over on Entropy. Thank you so much. And it's Sean super chatting 5 frozen Canadian dollars. I know it must be frozen up over in Canada because it is only 28 Fahrenheit here, and that's just under 0 for you all Celsius. Surrey, British Columbia has a town named Newton. where the non-white heroes keep shooting. They shoot an innocent white father, or they shot an innocent white father of 3 leaving for work. Well, what a bunch of heroes. Yes, these anti-white, non-whites. This is the sort of thing, I don't know if you all know, you have to read Born Guilty to get the details, but some of you may or may not know that, so I apologize. This was on YouTube, not on Entropy. But my father was shot many years ago by non-whites while he was working. Now, isn't that just the white man working away, and some non-white anti-whites decide that they are going to shoot him? I don't have to say that may or may not happen. You have to check with YouTube, because that absolutely happened. Annika says, I need to go, but I want Jason to know I sent him a DM on Twitter and can help with the streaming equipment on a budget. It's really easy nowadays. Well, thank you so much for that, Annika. I will get back to you, and we will figure that out. We will figure out the streaming issues so that it can be portable, and I won't have any sort of issue as I am traveling. The last thing I need is, I guess, first, expensive equipment, not an option. And the second is bulky, cumbersome, unwieldy equipment, which would also make things a little too difficult to deal with. So let's see, what else do we have? Pants Monster, can you send those leaflets to Canada? I sent an email about a while ago, and I know you're catching up on them now. Yes, I can send them to Canada, and there are some going to Canada. So you are likely to be one of those people who requested leaflets. If you sent a message requesting leaflets, you're up in Canada, then they may well be on the way. Jace, did he recover? Oh, my father. Yes, he did. In fact, my father is one, just absolutely was just quintessential the Westman as a problem solver, worked with his hands, and extremely intelligent and durable as you can imagine. And he was shot in the back while he was leaning over a fender of a truck working on the engine, and they rushed to the hospital, and they decided the bullet was too close to his kidney, so they were going to leave it in there. And we went to pick him up from the hospital the very next day, and he drove us home. Went back to work after that weekend. So what a microcosmic, perfect example of the macrocosm that is our world. White man at work, shot by an anti-white, non-white, and drives his family home from the hospital the next day and goes back to work the following Monday. Spencer's Thoughts says, good to see the stream tonight. Well, thank you so much. Seaver says, are the subs active? Yeah, membership is not yet active yet, but it will be in the next couple of days if everything goes well. We have RNG 17582 writing a very kind phrase. Thank you so much for this. For $2.99, buy Jason's Go Free on Kindle. Trust me, you will not regret it. Well, thank you so much for that testimony. It is still available, the first 299 downloads, for only $2.99 at that special price for the first 299 downloads. And as I add new iterations to the second edition, you will be able to download those at no additional price, as I understand. No one has told me otherwise yet. So you'll be able to continue to get the new iterations of the second edition as they are made available. Probably we'll have iteration 2 by maybe the end of February, but it's looking mighty busy. Some traveling and some other things going on. But if not, March, we'll have iteration 2. It'll have some of the new verbiage that we are using and is very successful. So let's see. Casa JB is here. William is here. Mentioned Tim a little earlier. Wonderful to see you all. Watch Rider. Writing here, wow, your father is tough. My buddy was shot in South Africa and was in hospital in a coma for 2 weeks. He was wearing body armor too. 44 Magnum round, almost had his name on it. Well, that's amazing to live through a 44. And of course, it matters where not just how tough the person is, but it matters where the slug lands. Does it go all the way through? The caliber, this sort of thing. All of that, of course, is playing a role in whether or not you live through being shot or and able to fight another day, or your life comes to an end because some undesirable piece of shit has decided to try to take your life as part of a gang initiation where you have to kill a white person to get in the gang. But of course, that may or may not be true. You have to ask the anti-whites whether or not there are anti-white, non-white gangs out there that have initiations like this. Mark Brown says, hi, no white guilt from Portish, Northern Ireland. A big hello to you back from Virginia. Good evening, all. Mike says, thank you, no white guilt, for the signed copy of Going Free arrived today. You are most welcome. Thank you for appreciating that and reaching out to me with the gratitude. All right, why don't we play a song, and we'll play a song, a brief song, and then we'll get on to maybe recover. We'll go over again the stuff about the channel membership, and we'll talk about mention the collectibles and the emails that I have responded to, and again, get any ideas on machines that I should use while traveling to live stream to you all so that we can keep this message rolling without any interruptions. That's what we want. While we play the music, why don't you all, if you have any questions about anything that happened today, anything going on in the news, you have any arguments or discussions going on with your family, share them. And what kind of arguments are being brought against you. I mean, I know that some of you were watching this debate with this argument between unwashed and this anti-white human filth a little earlier today, and I was working, I had it playing at the same time, and I would hear the anti-white just is so typical, you know, the different fallacies that they use, the different argumentation tactics that they use, and I would jump in really quickly, write a response, and noting what he was saying and why he was saying it, and always, of course, angling back to this argument, that argument, and this argument, and therefore we can inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. So obvious that is all that mattered to that piece of filth. And it will be such a wonderful day when we recapture our destiny and we can show that person the door and we can invite them to go live in these places where they just feel at home. The Congo and places like that, where all things will be wonderful for them. And just as they have always wanted it, I imagine they will be treated ever so wonderfully by the Congolese and other such peoples. Understand that maybe boiling in a pot of of what have you. Of course, that wouldn't happen. No, they would celebrate them. They would set them up and build statues to these anti-white traitors, because everybody loves a traitor, don't they? So let's get on to the music, and we will be right back.
They cannot make what we have made. A lesson learned is not forgiving. Shattered, dirty, bloody blade. When we're done, we'll keep on living. our spirit bound to all that burns. Fire is the fuel, we are the pure. The sleepers break, and once we yearn, a deep regret, no vision to unsure. Run away, run at night. The day has come and come too tight. Run away, run and hide. The stream of life will seem to fight. Run away, run and hide. The day has come and come too tight. Run away, run and hide. The stream of life will seem to fight.
Absolutely magnificent piece, ladies and gentlemen. Very happy to have such talented artists in our community. So I did see, I thought I saw some questions. Sonenrad says that he or she talked to a few people on the back end of DLive, but haven't heard anything back from them yet. Well, thank you for that. If you're actually looking into this issue to see what could be happening there and why somebody, I can show you all. I think I still have it loaded up here on stream on this platform. Let's see here. This was I still have the account. We're there live right now. And this was my progress. These are the things you needed to do for this membership, this affiliate level. And as you can see, I had achieved all of these criteria and easily achieved all of that criteria. And then they sent this. Regarding your recent DLive partnership application, dear No White Guilt, thank you for your recent interest in DLive partnership program. Unfortunately, we can't accept your DLive affiliate at this time. The reasons for this decision are as follows. And then a big white space. I wonder why they left it white. Maybe because I am white. Don't be discouraged, they say. We encourage you to reapply like an idiot in 15 days so that we can reject you again with another one of these fatuous emails that will tell you, here are the reasons why you were denied, and we'll leave that space blank again because we are mocking you. So that is what DLive did, and it would be very interesting if somebody out there can find out what's going on. I would be very interested to find out, especially if they have a foot in the door and can make something happen. What a magnificent piece that was. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, when and where you can, make sure to pat our artists on the back. There is no support, shaming, and service to white well-being. We help each other out because that is how we are going to recapture our destiny. Anyone who would mock or deride or pour some sort of aspersion or doubt on the sincerity of a content producer in service to white well-being simply because they ask to be supported, or we expect that we all will support each other. And I put my money where my mouth is. You can ask these artists. They've received money from me. If not every single one, most of them have, and it will continue to be that way. So it's not just something I'm asking all of you to do. I will lead by example, or I will participate by example. So when and where you can, let's make sure that we support these people. Sometimes their songs are 99 cents on their different Bandcamp or whatever these websites are. Why not? Why not purchase it, whether you like it or not? It supports them to create more music, more artwork, more poetry, etc. And that builds community. something we are needing desperately, and we are building at a record-setting pace here. We need to keep the wheels turning. So I will look for your questions, but right now what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to go back over the membership. This was for YouTube on my No White Guilt channel. YouTube has offered me the option, the privilege of having a membership channel, which will mean when finally the final approval goes through, there will be a little button on the screen that says join or something like this to become a member. You will then see a short video from me where I just say, maybe I'll just clip it out of this video, I don't know, we'll see, and say exactly what you'll get by becoming a member. And essentially what you receive by becoming a member is you will receive an icon, a little badge beside your name, every comment that you make. The little badge will be, in this case, an eindelen, which of course is from the story of Prometheus Rising, and it is the symbol that appears on the front of Going Free. If I could just grab one of the copies right here. So that is the eindelen on the front of Go Free, as you can see, has deep meaning and significance in the story of Prometheus Rising, and significance for those of us going free. It's a bit of a cryptic message, and that is how it is intended to be. But all you got to do is read Prometheus Rising, and it's very apparent exactly what it is. So that will be the badge that you will appear beside your name, distinguishing you from everyone who is not a member of the channel. Now, when you first become a member, it will be sort of translucent, and the longer you are a member, the more it will darken in to look more like it appears on the front of Go Free. That will distinguish those who have been members longer than those who have just recently become members. It will also, and this is the very fun part about it, and this is what really I thought this should be something I should do. Of course, there were several considerations. One of the considerations is you want to have a plethora of targets for your victimizer to have to strike. You don't want to have one redoubt, because that's where they dump the bunker busting bomb of oratorical anti-white slanders, and then it's over for you. They censor you from there and it's over. You should have a great myriad of targets for them to have to hit, and then as soon as they hit one, you flower somewhere else again. So that is one of the main considerations for having channel membership. Another consideration is that, so in other words, it could be something that they can take away from me to inflict injury. Another consideration, of course, is that when you become a member, you will get access to members-only emojis. So you know how you can click and have a selection of emojis when you are on YouTube. Well, members will be allowed to have use emojis that are only accessible to you, emojis that we can create. We all can create it in the community. I am not a creator of emojis, and I am not about to begin looking into how to create emojis. I just don't have the time. And so some of you, if you create emojis and I like them, they fit with Going Free, they are not in any way antiquated or reminiscent of some other governments or some other economies or some other whatever it was, some other symbolism that would liken us and what we're doing with symbols and personages and etc. in the anti-white narrative. If I like it and it doesn't do any of that, so therefore it won't threaten the channel and won't cause our new brothers and sisters who are coming to the channel, when they see the channel, to immediately say, ah, now I know what this is. I've seen this antagonist on television so many times, and this is the people in the flesh. If it doesn't do any of that, if it serves us or it's fun, then we're going to make it available to the members, and you will be able to use those emojis during the chat. So it could be anything like I mentioned earlier, the walrus from week before last, a walrus emoji, a rat emoji from PWR, or rather this week on the alt-right, the retired rat. It could be any number of things. And so as people submit those and then I add them, there'll be more emojis for members to use. And then also as a member, by way of the community tab on YouTube, I can send members messages, photographs, and the like that nobody else will get to have. Nobody else will get to see. And that will be just directed to members. So there'll be some little perk there as well to participate. But ultimately, the thing here is that we want this to be fun. We want people to be able to have fun with this. We want Vagues, our brothers and sisters, coming in to see this and see something that is more than just what they might find elsewhere, more than just another recitation of all that is bad in the world, of all that is going wrong, of all that is X, Y, or Z, and no remedies, and certainly no fun. But we also don't want, of course, and we have no problem with this, we also don't want to have an atmosphere of this psych nationalism. These people who will, everything is a joke to them, and they just want to talk about news, and they just want to talk about these sorts of things, staying in the anti-white narrative, staying in their world where there is no victory, there is no winning inside of their system. They just want to stay in there, and they want to be juvenile, and they want to be snarky, and they're really just the right wing, and we don't participate in that spectrum. It's antiquated, has nothing to do with us. Our ideas cover the totality of that spectrum. What matters here is service to white well-being. But inside of the anti-white narrative, inside of their system, the anti-white system, there is a right-left paradigm. And really, these snarky losers, these psych nationalism, they're just the right-wing version of SJWs. Everything is just a ridiculous, fat, ugly joke. They can say horrendous things. And then giggle like idiots, and then say, "Oh, I'm just kidding. Psych, didn't really mean it." Disavow that. That is retarded, and it's not going to do anything for our people in the recapturing of our destiny. In fact, it is the modern day conservatism. And this is something I really need to do a Going Free stream on, just as the main topic, because this is exactly the kind of thing. It is the exact same thing that conservatism, when it first came out with Buckley and the others, this is exactly as it was presented to our people. This was going to be the fun way, the interesting way, the route we had to go. And everybody ended up shunted into this alley that they never came out of. They shunted into it, and they were fleeced of all of the ideas, the culture, the history, the norms, everything they cared about, fleeced of all of it, raped of all of it. And so we see too many of those people following this same Pied Piper sort of message down this William F. Buckley trail of let's talk about these things. Let's in the modern way. Let's talk about the anti-white system within the anti-white system. Let's with the current language, contemporary language. Let's talk about it and be snarky. Back then, of course, it was this different. It was a different angle. It was this measure of respectability. This otherworldliness almost. It's the same exact thing, though. It's just it's like a different, it's a different age, so it is a different set of clothing. It's a different set of bell bottoms. It's a different set of trendy this or trendy that. That's all it is. It's just the new thing. Remember, when those folks came out, the folks in the universities and that sort of thing, they made sure that the young men were nice and buttoned up top. And they were following these folks and conservatism, and they looked that part. Well, we got a bunch of others looking a very specific part inside of the anti-white system, and they're going to be as miserably fleeced and raped as those buttoned down folks were back then. So let's see what else we have here as far as questions or super chats. White Healing came in at $2 on YouTube, and thank you so much, White Healing, magnificent name, and writes, "I want to be a member." Well, you are going to be able to be a member. Hopefully in the next couple of days we'll have it up, and it'll be just a heck of a lot of fun, and we hope to bring more people around with the membership option as well. So let's see here. Ash Williams has his tagged me on the gardening channel with some praying hands. Not sure exactly what we're praying to, but if it's to white well-being, then I wholly endorse it. We also have El Rhonda writing, "I think this new great face of white well-being called Unwashed was a DJ before. We might try to bring him in contact with White Art Collective, don't you think?" Yeah, I think that he was a DJ, and we spoke with him, and he is, as far as I understand, in the process of going free, coming to the reality of white well-being, seeing a this this truth, this world for what it actually is. When we were talking with him, and I began talking about the white, anti-white artists who create this dystopian ugliness, that what they are doing is they are indulging the antithetical symbology of our biosphere as a people. They are reaching into themselves and they're saying, what is the opposite of in my biosphere? What is the antithesis? What is the absolute inverse of what I feel? And then they create that, and then wealthy anti-whites come along and pay big money to make it go up on billboards or make it into buildings or what have you. And then you have anti-white peoples with a different biosphere, and when they project, there's something very different. Their works that we see don't resonate with us. They don't harmonize with us. Doesn't mean that they're not harmonizing with those people. It just means that they don't harmonize with us. And it's quite natural for that to be the case. Ohesian Outlaw, super chatting over here on Entropy, $10. Thank you so much for the super chat over here on Entropy as well, because 15% of that goes to the good people who run Entropy. And of course, this is a system that is, and people who are working hard to make sure that we continue to have a voice, irrespective of the efforts of the anti-whites out there to cut the tongues out of our mouths, which they are incessantly endeavoring to do. Looks like we have El Ronder on the question widget on Entropy. Can you elaborate on today's discussion of a new face of ours unwashed? Yeah, right. Okay, with the fascist beware guy, I could only make sense of this dude by seeing his quote arguments from an anti-white perspective. That I really, regrettably, I was not able to pay full attention to their discussion. I was working at the same time. I just had this on off to the side and was listening in and out. And every time I sort of tuned in with my attention, I would hear from this anti-white another anti-white argument. I've heard them all before. It was all the same. The equivalence fallacy, as saying that, well, white people do it too. That's the equivalency fallacy. They do it. They use it all the time. It doesn't matter. There could be 10 million non-white people committing X crime, and if 2 white people do it, anti-whites will say, well, white people do it too. And literally that's true. But of course, we know that it's the equivalence fallacy. It's what I like to say is it's like saying that both paper cuts and cancer hurt, so therefore they are the same thing. He also was making the argument, I'm just trying to recall some of the things. He said so many asinine, hateful things that were just clearly anti-white, really distinguishing himself as a dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore anti-white. I don't care what he wants to call himself. I don't care that he wants to call himself anti-this or whatever, cherub of heaven. He's an anti-white piece of filth is what he is. But he was also making this argument that, well, why would you're already being harmed by white criminals, so why would you object to me bringing in non-white criminals to harm you? Well, because we object. Because we're already being harmed by white criminals, because we deal with them. And we're allowed to deal with them, but people like you get in the way of us dealing with the non-white criminals. It's totally illogical to say you're already. I mean, I was with a guy. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. This was an argument I had years ago. I was talking to a guy. Needless to say, this relationship ended, and he seemed like he was an all right guy, and he said, "Well, we already have." And this was a question. What country were we talking about? The United States. I can't remember what country. If it comes back to me, I'll mention it. But we were talking about rape, and we were talking about statistics and the actual data. And this is a guy that is honest enough to look at the data and say, yes, this is what the data says. He's not going to deny it. Now, this guy that Unwashed was talking to, and this is a very typical scenario, and I will tell you all, if you come into contact with one of these anti-whites, just say, thank you for letting me know that you are an anti-white filth, and have a nice day, and move on to somebody that's worth your breath. Now, of course, Unwashed wants to have an argument with a piece of filth and bring attention to it, and probably a bit of fun from doing it. So that's a different thing. But in your life, don't deal with these people, because you saw what happened. Anti-whites will just state the inverse of reality to make their point, and they just won't give any ground on it. So this is like arguing with an insane person in an insane asylum. They think they're Napoleon, and you say, look, you can't be Napoleon. No, I am, and they'll just state it over and over. Are you going to continue having the conversation, or are you just going to move on? You just move on. So the anti-white, when it comes right down to it, no matter how much reason, logic, and evidence you use, no matter how much data you put in front of their face, they'll just say, nope, not true. My reality trumps anything you could possibly say, because it says so in the movies, because it says so on the TV shows, because I just say so. So don't have a conversation with an insane person. And that's what this anti-white piece of filth was. But this guy, looking at the data, he actually used this, well, there are white rapists, and there are non-white rapists, there are white rapists. And I said to him, look, let's say his name was, I don't know, let's say it was Chuck. I said, look, Chuck, why do you think you can say to me that I'm already being harmed by X, so I might as well allow you to harm me with Y? Why do you think that is a formula that makes sense? And of course, he's being trying to be logical and trying to conceal how anti-white he was. He was like, well, what are the odds that someone or care about will get raped? And I felt like knocking all of the teeth out of that bastard's mouth. I mean, for him to say, what are the odds that it's going to be your family, your daughter, your wife? What a piece of shit. So I told him what a piece of shit he was. And I told him, I said, you know what? You have a daughter and you have a wife. Let's hope it's not one of them, buddy. Let's hope it's not one of them that gets gang raped. What are the odds, Jason, that it's going to be one of the women in your life? Just that is the mind of an anti-white for you. So if you all can remember any of the other arguments that this anti-white was making earlier, I will address them. Chain Reaction says here, any chance I can send you? Yep. And then says, Putin visiting Israel for new Holo memorial and pushing official WW2 narrative in Russia. Why do people think he is any different than Trump? Are we just desperate for magical heroes? Yeah, well, it's that. And also people want to be lazy. They want to just think someone else will do it. Someone else will do it. We have here in Going Free the one master principle. That master is the spirit of the West. If someone engages in an action that serves white well-being, that person is good. If they engage in actions that serve white well-being for 20 years, and then they begin engaging in actions that serve white ill-being for 20 days, you hate them. We hate them at that point. We don't say, well, 20 years they were good, and now 20 days they're not so good. No, we turn on them this like a rabid dog to its owner. What matters is the one master, not a person, not a leader somewhere, not a dictator, not a president. Furthermore, don't ever look. It is pure stupidity to look to an outside government or a foreign wealthy individual or anything like this. Pure stupidity to ever think that any of these individuals would ever come to our help, because it is in their interests of their countries, in the interests of their businesses, international businesses, that the West crumble under diversity. Everyone knows, everyone with a real brain who is not in this system and just so muddled and drooling from the mouth with ignorance knows that homogeneity is strength. Diversity is divide and conquer. Everyone knows that. So all of these foreign countries, they love that the West is diversified. They love that it's becoming increasingly diversified. They will happily offer more and more of their populations, because the weaker the West will become by the more diverse it becomes, just like every business, just like every school, just like every military, just like everything in the world. I was at university and I wanted to get good grades, so I had to tread carefully. But I would ask little questions here and there, like when they were talking about how amazing we had to, endless anti-white meme pathogens brainwashed, infecting us with every lesson about how amazingly businesses work when they are heavily diversified, different languages, different cultures, different everything. Nobody can get along. Nobody understands, doing this on your face in one culture means that you're going to murder them and, whatever. Nobody can get along. There are these giant bureaucracies inside these businesses to harmonize the diversity. Somehow, though, even though it requires this giant infusion of dollars and genius and time and effort to harmonize the diversity, somehow it's a great strength. And I asked, why is it then that these Asian businesses, these Japanese, these Chinese, where it's just those people, everybody's the same culture, same language, same history, same holidays, why are they kicking so much ass? And then the professors, well, that's actually a good question. And that goes to, and then they try to deflect as much as they can. The discipline of these peoples and and all of these other things. And of course, I would kind of hint at, are you suggesting that they're somehow more disciplined than, say, the businesses in Africa? Well, no, of course they're not more disciplined than okay, well, yeah, then I just agree with everything you say. Can I have my A? And then I would get my A and then move on. Just demonstrating subtly to those who had the ability to hear and see what was going on with that anti-white piece of filth at the front of the room. So let's see, what else? So I wanted to talk about the emojis, the badge, the changing badge over time, the personal messages by way of the communities tab on YouTube. And if you had messaged me by way of email, nowhiteguilt.org, collectibles, nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com. I'm catching up on all of those. Make sure that you look in your spam folder just to make sure that message hasn't come in and then shunted somewhere that you can't find it. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, I wrote you this long ago and never received a message. Really, I have evidence of it. Oh, sorry, it was in the spam folder. So please check the spam folder and be patient because I'm one-person show, one-man band. And suggestions I saw somebody suggested a car adapter and just a laptop is what somebody said, all I need to be able to stream on the road. I will also be doing some flying, though, and some of this traveling. So if anybody has any other tips, and perhaps I'll need a specific case of machinery to be able to take with me when I travel that I can break out and do these streams so we don't end up missing each other. Let's see what we have over here and make sure that I didn't miss any of your questions before we wrap it up. And we'll be wrapping it up in just a moment. So make sure if you have any questions to get them in or statements to get them in now, and I will speak to them before we get out of here for the night. Tomorrow is Thursday, and in the evening time, I think it's going to be late again. I'll have to check, but we're on tap. We have Daughter of Albion is back, and she is going to be on a different machine. We're not going to have the technical glitch that we had last time. Of course, it was not the young lady's fault, but we were unable to correct the problem with her while we were on the air, and we still had a fabulous show, and we look forward to having her back to have the conversation that you all were looking forward to, and we, of course, were looking forward to as well. There's the great Fornal. Hey, Jason. Yes, share the donations more than once. He is the only one that has ever done that. I love No White Guilt. Thank you for your testimony there, Fornal. That's most kind of you. Thank you very much. That is the great artist, another one of our genius artists that are producing magnificent work and just sharing some honesty there with all of you about what happens when you all are not seeing what's taking place. Watch Rider is the story of Prometheus rising inside the book Going Free. Is it available on Kindle? Or is it just in the Born Guilty book? It is not in Go Free, and it is at the moment only inside of Born Guilty. But in the next month, I plan the next 30 days to have it as a standalone novel that you all will be able to purchase, and it will be both in print version and on Kindle. So this is for me, a very important text. It's the mythopoetic text that I put together. It has a lyrical writing scheme, I guess, to it, a melody to it, and it tells the story of our people, Prometheus rewritten here, and as the creator of almost all things, as well as the creator of us, Western kind, the Prometheans in that story. Follows a narrative arc from the beginning of time all the way to the present. And those who have read it have really enjoyed it. You can ask Luke Mason, who decided he was so moved by it that he came up with Promethean Hails, and a greeting and a goodbye, which I always say to and with him, and others have picked it up as well. And he dedicated his next album to telling the story of Prometheus rising with his music. And he, like Fernald, is a master musician. Really, both of them are mavens. I'm very impressed by these individuals, and we are playing these pieces as they become available, and we'll continue to play them as they become available moving forward. Let's see, Pants Monster, I'm going to buy your book tonight. Which place is most beneficial for you for me to buy it from? Well, if you're going to buy a print version that has my signature in it, then you go to nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com and you can pick it up, you can acquire it from there. Otherwise, you can get it on Kindle or on Amazon, and of course, it will get to you much quicker those ways. But thank you very much for picking up Go Free. Or if you're asking about, was it just Go Free, or if you're asking about Born Guilty, that's not on Kindle, but you can also get that at nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com or Amazon. Thank you for the inquiry. Okay, and it looks like Seaver got to you there. Thank you very much for that, Seaver, for jumping in with the answer. Let's see, Mike Anderson. Okay, right. Anderson as well. Thank you so much. Just got pink socked. Did my super chat get through? Well, let's see. Where did it come from, or where did you send it to? Did you send it to YouTube? Did you send it to Cash App? Did you send it to Ko-fi? It's not on Ko-fi, and it's not on Cash App. We will see about if it's on YouTube or on Entropy. Oh yeah, your Pants Monster's asking about the contact page on nowhiteguilt.org. I have Frogs. I reached out to Frogs to rebuild this site for me. Haven't heard back from him yet, but that is one of the things that continues to fail on the site. I have some new, and if anybody knows Frogs, if they could ask him to take a look at his email, I have emailed him and willing to pay for it's not just a donation of his time, willing to pay for the work on the website to get some of that cleaned up and for it to look a little bit better, more inviting, more user-friendly for our brothers and sisters who show up for the first time. And they will be showing up in much greater numbers this year. Rest assured, I'll be going out to some of these political get-togethers, both Democrat and Republican, and interviewing and a number of other things. I was speaking with Jeff from White Art Collective last night at dinner that we had together, and about some of this, putting together some ideas. And it sounds like it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. If you all have ideas, let me know, and maybe we'll pull some of those together as well. Great JT Smith saying, very well said about something. Thank you, good sir. Muktuk, I think the benefit of conversations like Unwashed is for vagues who may be watching, not necessarily the anti-whites they're arguing with. Well, precisely, good, very well stated. Exactly. Very well stated. Yes, when a vague tunes into something like that and sees that every argument the anti-white makes is merely to bring their destiny back into their horizon, back into view, which is the infliction of harm on Western kind and Western civilization. Nothing to do with right or wrong. This guy clearly had no desire whatsoever to serve justice. He clearly, every time Unwashed was saying something about, what about these white little girls and these white teenage girls who are absolutely having their lives just gutted out of them by these monsters. This guy did not say, you're absolutely right. It is horrific that this is happening. We have to absolutely put an end to these warfare rape gangs, which of course may or may not be happening. You just ask the people at YouTube. And we have to absolutely put an end to this. We have to get on top of this. It hurts me so much that this is still happening. And we need to also make sure that we jail the white people who molest children or whatever. That's not what he ever said, ever. Unwashed would say, what about the white little girls and then that are being harmed? And then this piece of filth would immediately say, well, what about the white people who are doing bad? So it was all about how do we get back to inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization. He made it so obvious. There was no one who could not see that. And I think Unwashed was helping him to that point, that he was as anti-white as could possibly be. And so when you get down to the root of it, I mean, if there was such a thing as the actual truth serum, and you could just, or whatever, and get the unabashed truth out of someone, and if you asked him what's the reason behind this, he would be saying that he hates Western kind because of the beauty. He hates it because of the wealth. He hates it because of the dignity that he doesn't feel a connection to for whatever reason. He hates, it's going to be all of these things he's jealous for. And therefore, declaring himself a victim of all of that he does not have, he has decided that he will dedicate his life and derive his satisfaction from inflicting harm on the avatar of all of that, which is any white person he can get at, any white life he can ruin. That is what's moving this human shit. That is what moves them. That is why so many white people who, for example, apologize for my foul language, who care about the environment, for example, like we were talking about earlier today on PWR, who care about the environment and who have just by that concern been kind of forced, nudged, shouldered into the anti-white community. And maybe they're okay being there because they have some jealousy and envy issues as well. They're realizing now that it's not going to matter how anti-white a white person is going to be. You're still the target. Your biospirit is what is going to be harmed, not your skin color, because we come in various shades. White covers a whole range of shades of skin, a whole range of shades of hair, of eye color, and even a slightly different variations in face and skull. It's a people, a single biospirit that they aim to inflict harm on. Some of those anti-whites, like these Bernie staffers, who want nothing more than, Project Veritas revealing, want nothing more. They're revealing to you the conversations that are normal for them. These are not extraordinary moments. These people are not saying, well, you know what, I can't say this anywhere else. But with you, this one time in all history, I will share with you my personal... No, they're having open conversations that they have with every other anti-white, demonstrating the normalcy of the opinions of rounding up everybody who is a heretic to anti-whiteism and re-educating them in torture camps, and then those who can't be re-educated in the torture camps murdered on mass scale. Those are the normal conversations. That is your takeaway. Not that this is a Bernie issue, not that this, all of this political nonsense. You are hearing the undiluted, unvarnished, normal conversations of anti-whites. That's your takeaway. And that's what you need to talk about with your friends, family, and strangers. Not that, boy, can you believe the Bernie staffers? You would be a damn fool to handle it that way. So let's see what else we have here. David says, unfortunately, has only negative things to say about us. No, he says, no white guilt, unfortunately, has only negative things to say about us, but we said very nice things about him on our broadcast. Who are you? I don't have anything. I'm not talking about any specific person. Seaver, okay. Budapest Babe, let all of your Facebook friends know about No White Guilt Facebook group. Personally, send a message to post to every friend. There you go, Budapest Babe. Thank you so much. A great champion. participant in our service to white well-being. Thank you so much for doing this, for getting out to all these different Facebook groups. We need to get to these people so that these vagues will hear the truth for the first time. They don't know where to go unless they hear from you all, the apostles of this doctrine of redemption. So thank you very much for your activities. Please follow Budapest Babe on that channel, the Budapest Babe channel, and heed that admonishment. We need more of us to get out to these groups that are vagues, that are nationalists, that are conservatives, patriots, environmental people, and Second Amendment folks, First Amendment folks. They all need to hear the truth. Alex says, have you heard about the heretical French author who has been sentenced to 2 months in prison and expected to give money to anti-white organizations? Is he ordered to give money to, have you heard about the heretical French author who has been sentenced? So has he or she been ordered to pay money, some sort of restitution, I guess? And I said this as well. I've been saying this since 11 years of age, that this is the sort of thing that anti-whites would vote for, and it would be legal in a democracy because the votes said so, that we would be paying restitution for everything. I have not heard about this French author, 2 months in prison for thought and for writing, and probably here ordered to pay these anti-white organizations as some sort of restitution to make amends for saying something unlovely, unworshipful about these groups. I have not, but thank you for bringing my attention to it. If you have a name or a story, I will look into it. Thank you very much for that. David says, people who relocate want to relocate. I support people who want to relocate, and let's see here. You say something else here. David says, counter signals practical actions. Says, No White Guilt is absolutely fantastic for spiritual healing, but counter signals practical actions. In fact, I'm the most pragmatic of all, and I have introduced something that is changing people's lives. Babies have been born. 4 people have gotten off the path to suicide. More babies are on the way. Marriage is on the way. Baby just born, and people going free. Children writing their parents notes, thanking them. Little babies writing of their own volition, writing of their own little words of thanks to their sick mother. That thank you so much for introducing white well-being to me, giving me a people, giving me an identity. That is pragmatism. That is making a difference. I have been in the white positive sphere for decades. I have heard good people, too many good people, gone down the path of we all need to move someplace, and then that will somehow become the Shangri-La. It'll just magically happen. This is a dead end, if there ever was one. Try to get 10 people to move to an area, 10 families. Try to come back when you get 50 people to move to an area. You won't be able to take over a town. You don't have an ideology that will protect your participants from anti-whiteism and these meme pathogens. Your activities of relocating are fundamentally correct. When you as a family or a person or a couple of families relocate to some place, you take with you going free. You all rear your children in love for white well-being and inoculating them against the psychological warfare that's being waged against us. That is the very first thing and the most important thing that you can do. And then from those places where you can be secure, you spread this curative contagion as wide and far as you can. Now, normally, David, I don't know if you're suggesting this or what exactly, and you're free to mention so in the chat. And I will happily respond to any respectable statement or disagreement. If you're part of groups of people that say, we all need to move to an area so that we can take it over, so that we can secede, that is just stupefying. There's no hope in hell The United States, the Canadian government, the British government, no one is going to allow white people to carve off a part of their territory and say that it is their own. I will imbue you with an honest motivation if this is your position, that you think they're going to reciprocate your equanimity, your kindness, your desire to be fair. If you think that, then that's just naive. And I think it's charming that the naive notion that so many of our people have, that anti-whites are somehow going to reciprocate our good intentions and say, well, you're right. If you'll get along better over there, we'll get along better over here. We'll let you have your own space. That is extremely naive. I think it's very charming. It will never happen. It's never happened. The anti-whites have never left us alone. They have never stopped monitoring. They have never stopped white erasing. That will never happen. If you are one of these people who think that you are going to get 50 families or 100 families to move to an area, and you're somehow going to give some sort of lewd gesture to the government there, that you are on a path to suicide by way of law enforcement. You can't even defeat the local non-white gangs in warfare. You're not going to be able to take on the county government, much less the city government, much less the state government, much less the federal government, much less the fact that all of the governments that the anti-white elites dominate would all come to the aid of the government in question that might be struggling with the 50 people. I mean, do we not remember these folks who are, and I'm not saying you're doing this, David, I don't know, but for these folks who say, well, we just need to set up some sort of a compound. How many babies do you need to see burned alive in places like Waco? How many of these militia groups you see armed to the teeth with their fabulous weapons? I love them too. The 50 cal sniper rifles with the muzzle brake and the magnificent scopes. And I love it all. It's the coolest stuff too. I think it's cool as well. And the retro AKs and all of this cool. I love it all. It's all cool as well. I get it. It's fun. But what has happened in every one of these cases? The government just drives up. They surround him, Weaver style. They murder the son as he's running home to the house, yelling that law enforcement are in the woods. Shoot him in the back. Shoot the family dog as the dog's running to defend the boy against the agents. Kill the family dog. Shoot the friend that's over at the house. Murder him. Then the Weaver and the wife held up inside the shack with the newborn baby, days where they're blaring and all of this, of course, ladies and gentlemen, might be true or it might be false. You have to look for yourself. YouTube decides whether it's true or not. Snopes decides whether it's true or not. CNN decides whether it's true or not. Not no white guilt. I'm just telling you what happened in World of Warcraft. So blaring the sirens and the announcements all night long at the shack. How's your son doing? They had dragged the son's body inside as the bullets were raining down on the house from the government agents. Dragged the corpse inside. Their baby boy. I can't yell right now because it'll wake the neighbors up. I've already had. I would be very loud right now over this. Anybody who supports this sort of stupidity, because I don't want a single one of us to be victimized in this way by the anti-whites. Nobody is going to lose a son by listening to what no white guilt has to say. When they brought that boy in that house, their baby boy, his chest was blown open. Do you realize that? I want you to think about that. When you're thinking about, let's tell folks some practical solutions about things they can do. They can move out somewhere and they can give the government a lewd gesture. I want you to think about Weaver's son with his chest blown open, the exit wound. Your baby boy, what was he, 10? 14? How old was he? And then to have the government blaring, this is in World of Warcraft, blaring, how's your son doing? So then finally, after the torture of whatever number of days, Weaver says the wife is coming outside with the infant. Don't shoot her, take her and the baby. She opens the door slowly, comes out with the infant, and an agent puts a bullet through the infant's head and through the mother's heart. You still want to recommend to people to this course of action? Because if you do, we know what kind of person you are. You still have to look at what happened down in Texas. You still want to watch what happened there. All of those children and women, men, fathers burning alive may or may not have happened. Just consult YouTube and Snopes whether or not that happened, whether or not they burned alive. And then on a much smaller scale, these folks who begin talking about these things, we just had 3 guys arrested, 2 Americans, 1 Canadian, talking about, and they weren't talking about starting race war like the anti-white media is telling the world. They're telling the world that because that fits the anti-white narrative. That's why they're telling the world that. What these guys were undoubtedly talking about was being braggadocious. We could take on the government sort of talk. We could do this. Let's get enough militias together. We could do this. Now where they're going to go? Give them their tube of Vaseline because they're heading to prison. Now, I don't want anybody heading to prison for something so dumb. What happened after my argument, and we mentioned it earlier, somebody asked on PWR, and Mark said, well, we're not going to get into that. Look at Jason's face. Somebody asked about these folks who talk about war all the time and defeating the United States and all of this idiocy, all of this violence. After I argued with that guy politely, he might be a wonderful person away from here. I don't know. Might be a wonderful person. So people have told me he's a wonderful person. But after I argued with that guy, because those positions lead to the kind of things happening that I say will happen. I said on that PWR, people are going to get arrested in their basements with MREs, ammo, and guns. 2 days later, I think it was, 2 or 3 days later, right in Maryland, right up the road, a guy dragged out of his basement. He'll never see the light of day again. Better have a big tube of Vaseline for him and his ass. Basement full of MREs, guns, bullets, talking on encrypted networks to others in the revolution who just happen to be federal agents. So no one is going to have to drag their dead son with his guts and his heart and his rib cage blown open for them to look at, and his lifeless eyes, lids wide open, rolling in his head. No one is going to have to see that because they listen to No White Guilt. That's going to have to be the anti-whites changing the social context into something that is deleterious for them. And you know what? If they change it into a different social context that is deleterious for them and their rule, we better have enough people going free to be able to resist the psychological warfare that is being used against us. Because if we don't, we won't be able to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to us at that time. So for everybody out there who wants to, and Jared, George, and I still want to do a show. We definitely intend to do a show for legitimate prepping and we continue to advocate that if you live in a city or a town or wherever you are, suburbia, you are in a dangerous place. Get out of that place. Get your family somewhere safe. If you can, if you're lucky enough to have some other families who are also going free and you all can find an area to go live together, do that. Don't try to cut yourself off from society because, first of all, you're not cut off. All of you out there who think that you're going to do something original, you're going to go live off the grid. You people are tyros. You're beginners at that shit. I know people who really went off the grid and they were still on the grid. They still had to get their cooking oil and heating oils. They still had to get their medications. They still had to get all these things from society. So if society were to crumble, they would have died. So this is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. If you have a group of families and you can move together out somewhere and keep your children safe, inoculate them against mean pathogens. I'm sure, David, this is the kind of thing that you and your friends that you all want to do. I'm going to grant you the benefit of the doubt as I intellectually honest as I would be with anyone in any kind of conversation until you demonstrate otherwise. I'm sure this is the kind of thing that you would like to do, brother. Get these families together, move someplace where you all can be safe and where you can inoculate your children, and most importantly, transmit. Get this information out to as many of our brothers and sisters as you possibly can on planet Earth. We have to do that. We absolutely don't want one community. We want 1 million such communities scattered all across Western civilization. I'd like to see a homestead here with 2 families, a homestead there with 10 families, a homestead here with 3 families, a suburban community that has 4 city blocks where they're spreading Go Free from house to house to house. People who didn't move to this area for the purpose, but they're going free now, and the area is becoming pristine as a result of it. I want it happening in every imaginable way, because human dynamism is beyond human comprehension. All we can do is feed this gigantic machine of energy, ingenuity, creativity, problem solving, problem challenges, everything out there, and hope to navigate as best we can. We need this grand multiplicity of settlements, if you will, throughout our civilization, so that we cannot be taken out with a single blow by the anti-whites. If we have 2 communities, 2 blows, and we're gone. If we have 3 blows, and we're gone. If we have 10 million, there's not taking us out. It's become too widespread. That is why a curative contagion is the way to go, specifically and most importantly because we are being and have been undermined. Nationalism, patriotism, religious ideology, any of these ideologies have all been undermined and have all failed against the psychological warfare of anti-whiteism. If we are going to win, if we are going to recapture our destinies in any way, shape, or form that it comes in all the ways that it comes, and by all of the incremental ways that we recapture that destiny for our people, if we are going to do it, we have to first treat this psychological warfare with a psychological defense. That's what Going Free does. You can raise all the flags you want. You can name all the new territories you want. You can say, like that militia group did up, where was that? Montana? The Freemen. They flew the U.S. flag upside down. They said, no, we're no longer part of America. They had people armed to the teeth and trained as well as anybody could be trained. The U.S. government just pulled up, shut the water off, shut everything off, started blasting the sonic waves that you can't hear, but drive you insane at their homestead, everything else, until these people started running out of food, going crazy, and giving up and going to jail for the rest of their lives. Let's be smart. We're the most pragmatic ones. We are showing proof of concept. This idea, again, David, not saying this is what you're encouraging, but this idea about everybody moving to one place, that has shown proof of failure again and again and again and again and again. How many times does it have to fail? How many times does the hubris have to be blind to the failures? How myopic does the hubris have to be unseeing of that teenage boy or whatever he was with his guts blown out in the bathroom where they dragged his corpse, where the mother cried every minute of every day and the infant cried every minute of every day because of the mother's wailing and the sirens. And then to be that man and watch, after you tell these people, my wife and infant is coming out, to watch them put a bullet through the baby's head and her heart. Jesus Christ. What kind of a dumbass would advise anybody to do anything like that? Only an anti-white enemy or somebody who's too dangerous or stupid to listen to. And David, this certainly isn't you. I'm talking about there are others out there who are recommending this sort of thing. And it could end in something much less violent. Of course, you could be like these old timers I know. I should bring some of them on the show so that people could see these pitiful wretches. The one guy who built the bunker better than anything you all could ever build. Trust me. The bunker to beat all bunkers. And what did he do? He stockpiled and stockpiled and stockpiled and finally decided that, well, the end never came. So he's going to start using some of the food. Well, the food was going bad even at that point. Well, he's going to use the toilet paper that he had stockpiled up in there. And it was disintegrating. Couldn't even use the toilet paper. But his children had become anti-white because he was spending all his time and money on the damn bunker. Your life could end up like that if you go down that kind of a path. So anyhow, I'll see what you all are saying. Not saying that this is David's position at all, but there are those out there, you all know. So I know some super chats came in. So I have heard these suggestions. I have heard these recommendations. I have heard these witless admonitions to suicide for so many years. I don't know how they persist, except that there must be anti-whites out there pushing them because of how deleterious they are for the recapture of our destiny. And I have these arguments with people, and sometimes they go away, and maybe some people, they're too challenged to really get it. It's like when I was driving the Lamborghini Gallardo on the racetrack, and I had the professional driver in the car with me. And, I approached these turns, magnificent track, and I'm approaching these turns, and whatever my level of intelligence is and my knowledge of automobiles and the like, and let me tell you, a yellow Gallardo is just, it is just magnificent. And anyhow, all of that horsepower behind you, it's like nothing you can imagine. And whatever my knowledge of automobiles, driving fast, whatever my intelligence is, I'm doing computations as I'm going into these turns. And I'm talking to this guy when I can. He's talking to me when I'm not talking. And we're feeding information back and forth. And he said, wow, you are really perceiving a lot of what can happen on this track. You're mentioning a lot of things. You're asking a lot of questions. Most of the time, I have people in the car and we're going around the track. They have no idea of the dangers. They're not computing any of these risks. They're not thinking about this part of the track and the way it leans, and that part of the track and the way it rises. They're not computing any of that. And so they don't see the dangers. So I think there's also an element here of people who are just maybe they're midwits, maybe they're less than average, people on the left side of the bell curve for our people, and they're not able to comprehend the superstructure of even their state government, even their county government. They can't comprehend it. The SWAT team for the county, they can't comprehend it. And so since they can't comprehend this multiplicity, this myriad of dangers, these multifarious dangers, since they can't even contemplate all of the risks, they say, well, this is the only path. And if you're not on board with it, then you're not really engaging in anything legitimate. BS. And we need to listen to sounder minds. And all we can say is that, for those folks who can't see as clearly or as far or as many risks, then what is this multitudinous, this multitude containing a multitude. When they can't see this, then we just have to say, well, you can either accept that you can't see all that's out there as potential risks and get on board with something that is proving its success rather than other methods which have proven their failures repeatedly, or we'll just have to show you the door and say, have a nice day, because we're not going to allow you to take down something that's working. I mean, do you seriously think I'm going to tolerate someone in the midst of our community where we are getting people off of drugs, off of alcohol, improving their physical fitness, their mental fitness, their spiritual fitness, bringing people together on a global scale, all of these things that we are doing? Do you really think I'm going to allow somebody to come in and say, you're not really doing anything? You're not really accomplishing anything. What you need to do is this other thing that has failed spectacularly numerous times and has failed in a way that has caused people to go to jail for their lives, that has caused people to end up 6 feet under, pushing up daisies from a pine box. This is what we really need to do. Piss right off. IJB $1.99 over here on YouTube. Thank you very much for that super chat, and great to see you again. What agency did that? Shot the mother. Well, in World of Warcraft, I believe it was the FBI, and I even believe in World of Warcraft it was an Asian sniper. And if you look it up, of course, all of this may or may not be true. In World of Warcraft, you have to look it up. He got a promotion after that. And there was a trial where I think Weaver sued the government, and all of that was revealed. What would happen to the agent and the promotion. It was of course, this is always the same thing. And by the way, this bus driver on this bus with a little 5-year-old white girl was being beaten up by the anti-white, non-white children on the bus. That bus driver, I am told, I received a message that somebody looked into that, and the bus driver indeed was not fired, just transferred, exactly as I said. So this agent, this is typical for the anti-whites, just a little transfer, and I believe as well in that transfer he was promoted. But check with Snopes, because when they're not busy wondering what gender they are busy telling you what is true and false. I definitely don't have the truth. Nothing I say here is true on this channel. Just ask any anti-white or any reporter for CNN. We also have Hansa. Great to see you coming in with $10 here on YouTube. And I was saying, folks, I apologize. I get. It was supposed to be a happy stream. We're talking about channel membership, but I get, when I think about these horror stories, especially of people's children, their white babies, I cannot. It is too emotional for me. I get too angry. I cannot stand our children suffering for stupidity when dealing with the anti-whites, or just the anti-whites inflicting the injury. I can't stand it. I can't. I dedicated my life at 11 years of age. I said, I realized at that age, I am not going to be able to defeat whatever this is out in the world that I see in the microcosm of my junior high school, 1,000 students large, 7th and 8th grade in the United States. I'm not going to be able to defeat this. I'm not going to be smart enough. I'm not going to be educated enough. I'm not going to be athletic enough. I'm not going to be able to defeat this. So I'm going to dedicate my life to helping others to free Western kind from anti-whiteism, to free us from this infernal doctrine, this pathology that has hampered and hamstrung and retarded all of our great abilities. And that once freed, people who are better than me, more connected, smarter, better looking, everything better, will be able to step forward and help us recapture our destiny. And I simultaneously dedicated my life to protecting our white children from the child abuse that anti-whiteism inflicts on them physically, mentally, and spiritually. Because I was seeing it happen to me and my peers. I was seeing it happen to those younger than us. I was seeing it happen to those older than us. I knew we were children. And I could see the trauma being inflicted. And I said, I've got to stop this with my life. If there's nothing else, this is going to give my life meaning. I've been working at that for the totality of my life. And God be damned that I'm going to allow somebody to advocate a position that is going to result in the families being cooked alive, or the families going to jail forever, or the families mourning over the relative that was just going to be brave, decided he was just going to take on the anti-white government. Not going to happen with no white guilt. We are going to take on the anti-whites, and we are going to and we are taking them on, and we are recapturing our destiny. It is going to be because of us that those people who do, like cravens, who flee to the hills, will be able to come out of their holes in the ground and say, is there anyone that can give us bread? Is there anyone that can give us our medication? And we'll say, well, yes, because we saved Western civilization. Hansa writes, Jason, I wish you could get that bozo anti-white who was on Unwashed in a debate that, quote, fascist beware, would eat his head when you finished. It would be great for hours to learn to silence such. Well, maybe I will. I'm going to be going out. It's going to be great, Hansa. I'm going to be going out to these political get-togethers, the rallies and the like, conservatives and anti-whites alike. And in some cases, maybe I'll go there just to get their views. In other cases, I'll go there to humiliate. In other cases, I'll go there to argue all all targeting the one objective of bringing our white brothers and sisters, the vagues out there, to going free and white well-being. They'll say, wow, I want to see the SJW humiliated by this straight-laced, clean-shaven guy. And I'll be more than happy to do that for them, and do it by any means. We'll see. We'll take all of your suggestions as well. We'll make it fun, and I have no worries that we'll be able to accomplish big things. Let's see, Joseph super chatting $5 on entropy. Thank you very much, good sir. Here is how the anti-white NWs, non-whites, anti-whites, non-whites behave. I was in high school, sitting in the library, wearing my glasses, and got sucker punched while seated. My glasses went flying across the room. Don't expect to be treated different. Well said, Joseph. Very well said. How many times have we seen that in person? How many times have we seen that on videos on YouTube, where, of course, they don't allow violence, which is why my video of Charlottesville was taken down. The violence, of course, the anti-whites attacking those who went there to oppose white erasure in the form of the tearing down of our statues of our heroes, respected icons. We've seen these fights. We've seen these attacks numerous times. You won't be treated differently. Thank you for sharing your testimony of how the anti-white, non-whites will treat you. They will come right up and sucker punch you, as they came up and sucker punched me. You can read about that in Born Guilty as well. And just so you all know, I never lost a fight. Not because I'm the best fighter in the world, by no means. There are plenty of people out there that can whoop my ass. There's no doubt about it. But I will lay a hurting on anybody, and I can take a beating and keep fighting back. So that is the absolute truth. Dan, super chatting 25 Australian dollars. Thank you very much, Dan, all the way from Australia. Hi, Jason. About 8 years ago, I met a guy in Europe from South Africa. He told me about what it's like to live in a compound. It is not comfortable living. Just because you're in a compound, it does not mean you are safe. Well, precisely, Dan. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for bringing in that information. It's not like you're going to live out on the Ritz. And let guys just realize this: when you decide that you want to go live in a compound or a hole in the ground, your best women, our best women, are not going to stay. They're not going to want to follow you out there. They're not going to want to live in a place where they could have normal running water, but with you, they're going to be having to dig a new hole every couple of days for the human waste. I mean, they're not going to do it. It's unpleasant, unnecessary, and you're going to end up out there alone, hating the world and jumping on the short wave, which the different countries in the West now are shutting down for us from using as well. You can just ask these people who are into that and trying to complain to other folks out there, most of them losers, some of them great people who made bad decisions. Thank you very much for that, Dan. Not a great place to be. And an additional point, parallel point to add to what Dan just said, did moving out to compounds work for our people in South Africa? I mean, did they take the country back? Indeed, in these compounds, are they not still infected with anti-whiteism? They are. They are still infected. There are leaders that have gone from the United States to visit them down there and have come back in their head in their hands, just disbelieving that our people could be in such a bad state as our people in South Africa and still be infected with anti-whiteism. Why are they infected with anti-whiteism? Because a name for a new little area, a new little set of ideology, points 1 through 10 that we're going to abide by, a new flag. That does nothing. That does nothing when your psychological warfare is being waged against you. It is childish. It just reminds me, and has always reminded me, even when I was a child, of little boys playing in a treehouse. This is going to be our fort, and we're going to set up a little flag, and we're going to nobody else will be allowed in our fort. Nobody else will know where it is. And we have our little plastic toy guns up there, and I played it. You all played it. All the little boys out there. That's all this is. These poor souls down there, you talk to too many of them, and you see that indeed they are still suffering with anti-whiteism. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, our people in South Africa write to me and they say, Please send us Go Free. Please send us Born Guilty. And as much as I can afford, I give these people these books as at cost, as cheaply as I can, on my dollar, shipping to South Africa. Some of these good people purchase as cheaply as I can make it for them. God bless them. But they're not reaching out for the psychological defense against the psychological warfare, because holding up somewhere has secured anything for them. Do they not continue to be murdered on their farms? Do they not continue sadistically? So that is what finding a redoubt and setting your tent stakes into the ground, and even this place Irania where it's you can't pull nutrients out of the ground, but a white man can just barely eke by. So they figure, if we find the most inhospitable, ugly place in the world, we'll be left alone. Well, they're going to be left alone for now, but who wants to live like that? And who wants to bet that the best who are born in those conditions leave? And they're going to go someplace else. They're going to be infected with anti-whiteism in those communities. And then they're going to say, screw this. And they're going to move someplace else. And they're going to take their brains, and they're going to take their looks, and they're going to be gone. We want their brains. We want their health. We want their abilities. We don't want them leaving because our ideas, we're all going to hole up in some miserable bunker somewhere. So Mr. Booga looks like in the chat says, no, I get on the topic South Africa. I really think Boer-Jack would be a fantastic guest on this. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to look into him, maybe put him on the list. Make sure you tell Mr. George next time we are on the air, tag him and let him know as well. So he's in both of our minds. Here's David writing, and your spiritual psychological healing is what has always been missing. I'm not counter-signaling you, my brother. Okay, good. See, I thought David, absolutely, what I thought about David was accurate. He's not one of these folks who is advising that we do these sort of crazy criminal things that you're going to need a lot of lube for or a casket for. So thank you very much, David. I deeply appreciate that. And listen, you get a community together, brother, and out wherever it is, I would suggest finding the prettiest place you can, because this is going to be good for your spirit. Don't worry about trying to build don't worry about trying to find a place where you look at the maps and, okay, if they go searching, or if the cities flood out, or all of these sorts of things. If you really want to be safe, find a place obviously far away from a megalopolis, but find a pretty place so that it will enrich your spirit while you're there. While you're going free, you will be releasing the biospirit from all of these MPs that are shackling it down, and your body will harmonize, your spirit will harmonize with those beautiful environs, and you will become 2x, 3x, 5x the man and woman you ever think you could have been. I guarantee it. So that's what I would suggest. You get that community together, and I will personally visit brother David, and we will talk about going free, and we will celebrate the little community you set up wherever it is, and work on transmitting this message to as many other communities. Get everybody to copy you and what you all have done. And listen, if there's somebody out there who's already has such a place. In fact, I know there's a woman by the name of Melissa, her and her family, who have set up who have a little home, and they got a little homestead, and they're having a wonderful, it's a pretty place. And hey, that's the kind of model that folks need to be following. And when that's finished and it looks glorious, this is the kind of thing that, without giving away exactly where they are, obviously, that we need to get footage of, and we need to visit, and we need to tell others this is the kind of thing that you can do. And pictures of the smiling white babies rather than the ones with their hearts blown out of their chests. So let's see. I think that's, oh no, we have a couple question on the question widget. Let's see. Will Born Guilty be on Kindle eventually? By John Doe on the question widget. It will indeed. That is going to be much later, though, probably 2021 at the earliest. Many other things to come before that, but it will eventually be on Kindle. Popcorn Power. So are you saying I shouldn't get up my commune? I shouldn't set up my commune? Well, if you define it the way that I just did, then more power to you. If you define it the way that these folks who are talking about like the Weaver style or any of these things, then please don't. Please don't. I don't want to have a single, I'm not going to have a single wife come to me and tears in her eyes and beat on my chest because her husband listened to something I was saying and ended up in some bunker and the police surrounded it and set the thing on fire. And now he's dead. That's not going to happen because of what I'm advocating. Absolutely not. If somebody's husband or somebody's wife or whatever, somebody's son or daughter gets killed by the anti-whites, it's going to be because of the anti-whites, not because of our service to white well-being. All right, let's see what else we have. This is over on entropy, and I think that's it for entropy. And if there's nothing left, then we will be checking out. And one more time, I want to say that you need to look at CNN, the reporters. Just ask the reporters at CNN for the truth. Ask the, why does the screen keep jumping over here? Ask them, ask Snopes, ask YouTube for the truth. Nothing I'm saying could possibly be true. I'm just some guy on the internet. Frodo Underhill says, check Ko-fi. I will, my dear friend. Not going to let any of these platforms go by without checking before we check out. Wonderful to be with you all. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to be working. Right as I finish here, I'm going to rotate this way and I'm going to begin working on the standalone version, get back to work on the standalone version of Prometheus Rising for you all. The cover, etc. It's all underway. Things are happening. And it'll be this year that I will also do the audio version, which means that it'll be read in the proper cadence, the proper pronunciations, etc. You'll be able to listen to it rather than or read along. If you like to read, more power to you. Some of you don't have time to read. You'll have to be in the car. Maybe you're driving the forklift. Maybe you are driving the rig. Whatever it is that you do for a living. You're in the crane. You're piloting a spacecraft. Whatever it is, and you want to listen to Prometheus Rising. You're on the space station. You want to listen to Prometheus Rising while you do other work. You'll be able to do that. And you'll be able to listen to it with the proper cadence and the way it's meant to be delivered, which is vital to the transmission of the knowledge that is being shared there. A didactic work, an allegorical work, and many truths to be pulled out. NPC, wait, what is this? What day is this? NPC 162 over here on Ko-fi. A great hero in our community. God bless you, good brother. $18. Jason, I'm writing you in the GOP presidential primary. It doesn't matter, but I want to take an hour break and clear my conscience of not voting for the best man, or clear my conscience for voting for the best man for the job. Thank you so much, NPC 162. That's a very meaningful. And those kinds of acts, they are, those are little victories in themselves, because you are saying the secession of taking a territory been resolved. It's no longer legal and it's no longer possible. The governments, of course, will just come in and kill everyone, as I've been saying, but you can secede mentally and spiritually, and that's what we're doing. And that sort of an act is a mental secession. You are taking back the authority that you have invested in these institutions, whether it be the government, your alma mater, your whatever it might be. You're taking it back, and you're now investing it in something that will serve the well-being of our people. So that's a magnificent act. Thank you for that. And let's see over here on Cash App. So thank you very much as well. I think Cash App was, yes, it was blank. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Frodo Underhill. And let's see what else we have here. IJB just came in with a super chat of $1.99. Thank you again. Are you worried about copyright? Just say truth. Worried about copyright? You mean by what I say when I say it may or may not be true? That is because the reason I say this is because we are not allowed to be, no one is allowed to be on YouTube an arbiter of truth other than the anti-whites at YouTube. They get to decide what is true and what is not true. If we say something that doesn't comport with the anti-white narrative, and we say it's absolutely the truth, then they can strike the channel, they can delete the channel by saying, well, we say that that's not truth. So that's why I say that you all have to look it all up for yourselves. I am not giving you anything apodictic. And I know that's going to cause the anti-whites to really scratch their heads as I scratch mine, wondering what the hell does that word mean? Well, look it up, folks, and see that I am not saying anything apodictically. You all have to research it for yourself. Anything I say here may or may not be true. And Fuel here says, with $20 on YouTube, thank you so much. I've tried to convince and teach many of my friends my beliefs, but I'm quickly ignored because they think they're happier and safe being ignorant. That's just their lie. Before I read any further, I'll tell you that I've heard this a lot. They're just lying to you. They're trying to conceal their cowardice. They're trying to conceal their apathy. It's cowardice and apathy, and they want to say, and they want to indulge this hyper-individualism that has been elevated by our victimizers to this sacrosanct, this holy state, and you need to call them out for it. Tell them that it is immoral to make a heaven for yourself and a hell for the rest of our people. And furthermore, your children and your grandchildren are not going to be able to escape that hell. Well, they don't have any children. Their nieces and nephews are not going to be able to escape that hell. Their cousins' children are not going to be able to escape that hell. So it is really an immoral, despicable piece of human waste that would make a heaven for himself and a hell for the rest of us. That is a morality that is already acceptable within the body of our people. So it is a powerful crowbar to move our vagues when they're saying this sort of thing. You can move them very readily. Please try that on them and see how they react. And I said just the other day, I've had people, and you can use this for any sort of scenario, when they say to you, they give you reason X, which is why they're not going to do that. Pretend like you didn't actually hear them say reason X, and then talk about reason X as though someone else is doing it, and talk about how immoral, wrong, and ignoble it is for someone to behave that way. I have never had a single time when a person said, hey, wait a second, I was just saying that that's what I was doing. No, they all take the easy way out. They have always taken, now it might not always be that way. There might yet be one where they say, hey, I was, and then if they say that, I'll say, wow, you couldn't really want to own up to being such a cowardly prick. That would be the response to that. They all want that easy way out. They end up agreeing, yeah, that's true. Or sometimes they might try to defend it some, but they become very sheepish because they wonder, did he really not hear, or did he not quite understand what I was saying? So you have them at that point. Please try that. And you further write here, I was once like them. If only they knew how much better it could be. Thank you. Well, you are most welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for that testimony. That is very meaningful because there are people watching now that are live who are here for the first time. Vagues. There are people who are going to watch, many more who will watch in replay, that are going to be watching for the first time vagues. And they're going to say, that person was just like me. And this person is so much, it can be so much happier and is achieving something. What is this something? What is this go free? What is this going free? What is this mean pathogens? What are they treating? What are they getting better from? How are things improving for them? How is it spreading? And then they'll investigate, and we'll have another one that will be touched with this curative contagion. You know, everybody's worried about this virus, this coronavirus, which had me laughing. I didn't want to say anything about it earlier, but this coronavirus, like it's this beer issue. Yeah, I guess a lot of people suffer. It used to be called alcoholism. Now it's called coronavirus, but whatever. That virus is the Chinese are really going after to shut down all, everyone going in and out of this community. Excuse me. everyone going in and out of this community, all travel, I think air, land, etc. And because they handled, I don't remember what it was, avian flu, or they handled it so poorly, folks flew all over China spreading that trash. And these things, they can be zoonotic in nature. And if you don't know what that means, it means that they can start in an animal and then be transmitted to a person. Those are extremely infectious and injurious, pernicious diseases. And this coronavirus, it could be like that. It's killing people who are catching it, but it's not going to go anywhere. What has the potential to go everywhere is this curative contagion of go free. And we already are seeing proof of concept. People who learned from the original apostles that have been coming in wave after wave, all of you, pardon me, who have learned about going free, they themselves are going free. And now they are welcoming new people into going free, bringing them in. And I am only talking about what has been happening since we have been on the internet. And having my channel and broadcasting. I'm not even talking about over all of these years prior to the internet, where I was helping people go free, and then they helped others, and they helped others, and folks came back to me. And we're going to have this in the future. You all will have it. People showing up, having learned some of the principles of going free, very distantly removed from the work we're doing here, and then show up here and think, I didn't even know this place existed. I heard, and you all existed. I heard some of these ideas, and I immediately adopted them, and I felt much better. Life started getting better. I started understanding things better, and I found the well. I found the source. We'll see that happening. Rest assured. All right, let's see what else we have here. And then we're going to be checking out so we can get to work on Prometheus Rising. All right, I read that. Look at all these wonderful people. Jennifer is here. 15 seconds. Of course, Watch Rider. I read something from you earlier, is here. Who else? Gordon is here. Great to see you. Machiavellius sucks. Great to see you. Drunk? Was that who I saw a name going by? I think I saw the great HB 2014 is here. Maynard is here. Folks, if you don't follow HB on Twitter, HB, if you are here, please put your Twitter link. Everyone needs to follow HB 2014 on Twitter and repost the content that he makes. He does an absolutely Herculean job producing magnificent clips and posting them on Twitter so that they can be shared. We, of course, are all shunted by the anti-whites. That's why we need as many people as we can spreading, because it's going to be this fits and starts. You'll begin spreading this stuff, and then the anti-whites the algorithms and all will figure it out, and will begin shunting it, and then someone else will have to begin sharing it. So we need everyone sharing this material as widely as they possibly can. Let's see, did I miss any of these? Okay. I think that is all covered over here on entropy. A magnificent pop-up going free stream. Still even though we got a little sidetracked talking about some bad ideas that people out there in the world sometimes make. Even though we got a little sidetracked talking about that, it was important to talk about it, because we don't want folks making these bad decisions, and I want you all to be empowered with the truth of what these decisions result in when folks head down these paths. It's failure one way or another, and that is the absolute opposite thing we need to be doing. It can't be just my voice. It needs to be all of us. We all need to be speaking this. It won't hurt at all to end up in one of these live chats or on one of these threads where they regrettably have a great many people showing up to talk about very silly, childish things, to show up and say to these people some of the things that I have shared with you all today about taking on the government and about how you're going to end up, and how many people, that conversation I mentioned on this week on the alt-right, as I say, 2 or 3 2 or 3 days later, the guy in Maryland was arrested. And then it was like 2 weeks later, a guy in Texas. And since then, it's been at least a half a dozen that have been notable arrested folks having said braggadocious things and planning things they shouldn't be planning. And they just end up paying the ultimate price for being a child in an adult's body. And that is, we are not going to do. The great Roy Danton has something over here. So, of course, I am not going to miss what he has to say. A great champion in service to white well-being. And Roy Danton is another one you should be following on Twitter as well. And Roy says here, since you're talking so much about World of Warcraft, that reminds me how glad I am that I quit playing. The last boss, Zoth, is just terrible from what I've seen on YouTube. Well, this is a great thing, actually, that Roy is mentioning, ladies and gentlemen, because there are many addictions out there. And there's pornography, which can be an addiction. And of course, I'm not like most of the content creators in the white positive when they talk about pornography. For them, it's an all-out ban of any sort. For me, it's of whatever your community decides is illegal, should be illegal. It should have no place in the public space. The public space should be someplace that we all can meet with a high level of morality, a high level of ethics. And then in your private environment, you can indulge what you want to indulge. Just not with me unless I want you there. But otherwise, in your private space, and of course the community, we all are going to agree, nothing with animals, nothing with children. Of course, these things go unsaid. But if a community wants to go further than that and say, well, in our community, we don't want to allow X, Y, or Z extra, well, then so be it. But these addictions, you need to escape. You need to be freed of these. You need to go free of addictions. And they come in many forms: alcoholism, coronavirus, or pornography, gaming, many types of addictions out there. And Roy self-admitted that he spent far too much time, money, effort of his life. He only gets one. We all only get one. There's no coming back. If you believe in, if you want to believe in reincarnation or something like that, you can say, actually, there's a principle here, and maybe the name will come back to me. But the only rational thing to do is, if you want to believe in an afterlife, you want to have faith in an afterlife, okay. You want to believe that you could possibly be reincarnated, okay. But there's something that we know for sure, and that is that we're alive now. We weren't alive before, and at some point, we won't be alive anymore. And Roy was mature enough, adult enough, man enough to say, I'm not going to give any more of my life to playing these nothings, to just these games. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to ever play a video game again. It just means that you do not give your life over to this addiction. You give your life, you bend your knee to that one true master and become what you are capable of becoming. That is what gives your life value in a way that you couldn't possibly achieve in any other sphere. Not job, not church, not whatever you go to, not gaming, not anything else. Nothing will give your life value like bending your knee to the spirit of the West, the only thing that has the right to claim you, because it is that one thing that gave you life, that came through you and is the reason you are what you are. Roy Danton overcame the time that he wasted. And Lord knows, I don't have to say it. I don't have to look at this screen to see if he's writing it already. He wishes he could have half that time back. He wishes he could have a 50th of that time back so that he could give that time to becoming the greatest Westman that Roy Danton could possibly be. Despite the shackles of going free, despite all that, he would have a 50th. He would give anything to have a 50th of that time back. Don't get started down one of these paths and waste your life on something that's totally useless. Roy has found infinite meaning in life by going free. And he has said as much with his words, but he has also said as much in his deeds. He's now creating memes. He's now participating more in this way. And ladies and gentlemen, this man, this hero, just like Final Blossom, both of these gentlemen, with the testimony of their dollars to the tune each giving $1,000, are saying going free works. It is improving my life. Real change is happening. I feel a real difference in who and what I am as a consequence. I see change in other people's lives. I see this reaching more and more people and growing. I see the proof of concept. They are working class people. They're not like Mr. Pie, who could throw $1,000 at me here and there and never know, who could throw 50,000 and never know it's missing. It's the interest for a month of one of his accounts. These are working class people who are working for those $1,001 bills. So for them to give that, for them to put that forward as testimony to the success of this, they are saying, not to no white guilt, they are saying to all of those potentials out there, all of those vagues out there, those little children, those little boys, those little girls, they're saying to their parents, this is the way. Please introduce your children to this. And some of these parents are going to heed that message. They're going to learn about what Roy and Final Blossom and all of you do who are super chatting and are giving this testimony. And therefore, Roy, Final Blossom, all of you are going to be the reason why white little boys and little girls are going to be pinning those notes to their parents of love. Thank you for giving me a people. It's going to be because people like Roy and Final Blossom and all of you are doing this. That is what it's all about. We're going to give them a life that was stolen from us. And if you don't have that in your heart, then you're not worth being here. We have another super chat. Westman's son, super chatting 10 pounds. Thank you so much. Strong arm on that guy, throwing it all the way across the Atlantic. Thank you. Cheers, Jason. My young family's well-being is improving overall, and it has everything to do with me going free, brother. How do you keep your stress levels down? From Ireland, brother, thanks. Well, from Virginia, many thanks back, my friend. How do I keep my stress level down? I take steps every single day for white well-being. I know that the things that I'm doing are making a difference. Now, I want you to know that with that verbiage, with those 10 pounds, you've just made a difference in someone's life. That will take stress off of your shoulders. You'll see that next commercial. I know you got a lot of them over there in Ireland, where it's going to show that beautiful white Irish girl, as beautiful as our biosphere can produce, as quirky, as witty, as smart as our biosphere can produce, the curves in the right places, legs that go all the way to heaven, smile that stretches from ear to ear, and she's going to be right there with a non-white male, and they're going to be producing with those adverts, or encouraging with those adverts, biological white erasure, and that's going to be infuriating for you. But you're going to know every time you do something like this, every time you get onto a blog and you say this sort of thing, you're going to know that you're making a difference in someone's life. You're striking back against the anti-whites with that. And that is how you help to get away from the stress. It is with your actions to do good for our people. That is how you'll truly rid yourself of the stress. And with these little victories, each one builds on top of the other. It is a big momentum that is created by having these little victories. You can just ask Roy how he has come along, victory after victory after victory. There's no stopping. It's just one thing after the other. We can't have military victories. That's a reality. But we can have something that is far more meaningful, and that is symbolic victories, because those are victories of the soul. Those are victories even of the human spirit. All of mankind, all of humankind, whatever you want to call it, they can all see and witness and understand those sorts of victories. Those are the biggest victories, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the ones that shake the pillars of our governments, because they know that a people so moved can't be stopped by missiles and guns, but any other effort can shut us down. Looks like we have a few more statements, and then I'm going to check out so I can get to work for our people. I think we've covered, yep, that's all the super chats. I want to make sure we read everything you all have here. Popcorn asks, do I have an evangelical background? No. Thank you for the question, though. I take it as a compliment. I attended church all the way up to the 8th grade. I went to, I think, just about every denomination, including Mormonism and Catholicism. I attended all of these different institutions looking for, belief. I started off in a Christian preschool, and prior to going to elementary school and what's called kindergarten here, I everywhere I went, at the pulpit, they taught anti-whiteism. The doctrine, the word of God, was always subjugated to the pathology of anti-whiteism. And I just shared the other day that a woman reached out. I'm not going to share where in the world, a woman who's going free, shared that a white male priest told her in confidence, and this is why we're not saying even what country on planet Earth it is, that the Catholic Church absolutely discriminates against white males in that institution where he is. I'm not saying it's the whole everywhere, but it could be. I don't know. Maybe some other Catholics can enlighten me. But his experience and his speaking with other priests, white males, are absolutely of the mind that there is hardcore anti-white discrimination against our people inside the Catholic Church. Not the totality, but at least where they are. So I ended up, I was only a child, up to 13, so I never spoke at the, in the pulpit, but I was just, part of the flock, and I eventually, I had to leave the Christian church, but I'm open, as I always say, to if Jesus Christ wants to appear before me and ask me back, I will happily obey such a deity. But what do we say? El Ronder is here, and he says, do you think that the people who want to set up an own city and why the government won't let that happen, one can only be understood with our understanding of going free? Do you think that the people who want to set up, I guess, one of our own cities, and why the government won't let it happen, that they can only understand it if they're going free? No, I think that rational thinkers should be able to conclude, without even going free, that this doesn't work. I mean, how many times do you have to see this story? How many times do you got to watch the movie to its gory conclusion? And in fact, every time you watch the movie, you see that the bad guys in it that bring it to the gory conclusion, that they are more powerful every time. So the movie is changing each time you watch it. It's getting worse for us. How many times you got to watch that and still advocate that sort of misadventure, shall we say? I don't know. But certainly those who are going free, they should see the writing all over the wall that such a thing would be inane. I don't have a multiplicity of places we stream, and we don't multiply as rapidly as we can, because a single stronghold is the way to go. And I really speculate that it has something to do with being an infant and a child. And when you are a child, your parent, one at a time, and two of them as seen together. Remember, the brain has two hemispheres, and I don't know if others have speculated about this. Perhaps they have, but I've always thought this. We can't think in anything else but dichotomies, even when we think we do. We always separate it into this and that. And so there could be 20 parties, then it's the one we're in and all the others. So the parents is the parent and you, or both parents and you, and they effectively can make all things good. They make pain go away. They make hunger go away. They give you these pleasant chemicals by cuddling you and all of this sort of thing. And so I think this idea that you're going to find a single leader or a single place to hide and all of these sorts of things, that this is really coming from these deep memories from the past, that there's going to be some parent that is going to make it all better. And the parent manifested in a base or a Donald Trump or a Putin or something like this will make it all better. The pain will go away. We'll kiss the boo-boos. I think that's where it comes from, because it has very little to do with a mature and rational appraisal of the situation. I mean, God, I could list. There's so much to list. We would be here all day and it would become boring. But thank you for that question. Greek American, great participant. How do I convince through conversation people who think that old symbols help white well-being to think through the white positive lens on it? Many people in the chat like WW2 symbols. I know, and we just have to keep talking about the fact that this, and I'll just try to summarize because we're definitely running out of time. I love being with you all, and I wish I could be with each and every one of you one-on-one and helping you every step of the way so that we could help more go free. But I can only be pulled in so many places at once. But those out there, I understand you. You love these symbols. They have meaning for you. They have value for you. You have to ask yourself, where did this originate? And where this originates for most people, these symbols and the meanings, and I know it has meaning now. And necessarily where it starts, it doesn't invalidate the meaning for now. So you'll see what my recommendation is. But how many of you out there who have this love for these other economies, these other governments, these other ideologies, these other symbols, this other that, how many of you out there came to those things before caring about the harm being inflicted on us? How many of you out there came to it when you realized that we were being harmed, and then you said, what's the opposite of this? What contended with this? What does this hate? I contend, I submit, that the vast majority of you, and either way, it really doesn't matter for the outcome, but for the vast majority, probably all, you started off seeing that we were being harmed. And then you looked at this anti-white narrative, which you think is the real world, or you thought was the real world. And you said, what does this hate? What does all of this that's harming us, what does it hate? What does it despise? What does it say no one can have a look at? What does it say that we all have to disparage? What does it say the bad guy is? And then you've identified with the bad guy in their story. Now, maybe after that, and when you've identified with the bad guy in their story, you then, you said, what are their symbols? What are their uniforms? What are their styles? What are their speech? What is it supposed to look like? And you've adopted these things. And then maybe for some of you, you've dug into the research and you've looked deeply into this and you said, well, I found some truths that say X, Y, and Z, and that disproves what's said over here in this reality that I was living, not realizing that you chose this symbology, this ideology, this whatever, because it was the bad guy in their narrative. Now, your research has only, if for you, has opened your eyes and you've discovered some new things or whatever, and now you think that this is not real and that this over here is real, it has only enlightened you. The rest of the millions and millions and millions of our brothers and sisters out there, they're still living by this ideology, this pathology, this anti-white world, this anti-white narrative. And when you show up bearing the symbols of the bad guy, the antagonist in this narrative of theirs, they don't know what's in your head. They don't know how much you've read. They don't care. They see the bad guy from that ideology. And not only do they see the bad guy from that ideology, but they see everything that is attendant to the bad guy in that ideology, which means you might think that, X, Y, and Z, and that's it. You might say that, well, you just care about white well-being, but you're going to use these symbols. When they see those symbols, they don't see just white well-being, X, Y, and Z. They see the whole alphabet of what has been sewn into these characters and these movies and these news stories that are fraudulent and manipulated and massaged to mean the anti-white narrative is true, the lies that it means it's all true. So this is akin to, so essentially what you've done is you have set yourself up to be seen as a monster. You have said, I will don the clothing of the monster. I will speak like the monster. And then you want to go out into the town square and wonder why the people run at you with pitchforks and they run at you with torches and they say, there's the monster. It looks like that. Let's kill it. That's the monster. You wonder why the average population, when the anti-whites are saying punch and then fill in the anti-white slur, why the average population, they just shrug their shoulders. Why? Because it looks like a monster to them. The truth doesn't matter. The truth simply does not matter. Whatever you think the truth is, it does not matter. There's a word here, verisimilitude. It's a complicated word. It means that things have to have the ring of truth to the audience for it to be believable. If you discovered that pigs or turtles ran the world, brilliant turtles with great foreheads ran the world, you would do no good to go out to the population and say, I've discovered objectively that turtles with giant foreheads run the world, because it doesn't have verisimilitude. No one will believe you, no matter how objectively true it is. What is our objective? Our objective, and presumably what your objective is when you got started on this path, when you saw the harm being inflicted on us, is to put an end to this harm. Are you serving that objective by donning the costume of the monster in everyone else's story, in this anti-white narrative that people are living by? Are you getting us anywhere closer to putting an end to the infliction of harm on our children by walking into the town square with the monster suit in its wild fur and fangs and horns? You are not. There is nothing moral, nothing courageous, only stupidity, ultimately, that drives people to do these things. They want to re-educate people that they won't have in front of them for 5 minutes, that the anti-whites will have for the totality of their lives. So the smart thing to do, I understand a lot of you, I have plenty of things that I revere, symbology and the like. Take these things and put them in a place of reverence in your home. Do not expose them. Would you throw pearls before swine? Would you cast these pearls before swine? You believe that these symbols, these governments, these ideologies, these economies, these names, these personages, you believe that they are pearls. You believe that they are gleaming gems of truth or justice or whatever. What good are you doing by throwing them in the filth and waste at the feet of pigs? It's no good, because all they're going to do, and I've said this about anti-whites before, is squeal at you. And all of that squealing, all of that shouting, just for me, sounds like the squealing of pigs or the braying of asses. So instead, take your pearls, take your gems, put them in a place of reverence in your home where they can be properly revered. You can show them the respect that they deserve in your mind and in your community. And when you go out into the town square, you take the doctrine of going free, which when you touch people, it becomes impossible for them to continue on inside of the anti-white narrative. And we pull one more brother or sister out of it. So that's a fantastic question. Greek American, I deeply appreciate it. There are a lot of folks that continue down this, what ultimately is a self-destructive path. And it is something that people usually take in stages. They usually say, well, okay, maybe I'll stop with this and maybe I'll stop with that. And then it's one thing at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to throw these things away. You're doing them justice by not putting them before people who see a meaning that is vastly different than the meaning that you apply. And think about it this way. If you were in medieval Europe and the church rules, and you decided, I've given this example before, and you want the separation of church and state because you think government will work better if there's a separation of church and state. People will be served better. And you decide to share this opinion. Well, the church is told the entire public that anybody who wants a separation of church and state worships Satan, worships the devil. So then you go out there and you say, well, you want separation of church and state. Well, everything else that the church has said about those who worship the devil is then believed to be true in you. So baby sacrifice, eating babies, killing babies, all of these different fornication with this and that, all of this sort of things is suddenly seen in you. But none of that is true. Only your well thought out deduction that government should be separated from the church. But when they have you tied to the stake and they set the hay alight and that heat is reaching you and you feel your flesh bubbling on your bones, is it going to matter that all you really cared about was the separation of church and state? No, all that's going to matter is that they're murdering you because they believe you're a baby killer. So let's be smart. Roy Danton over here writing, even though I'm super tired after a long day at work and assembling this bookshelf, you just inspired me of quickly hitting the gym while I'm still warmed up. Amen, brother. That is fantastic. I'm glad. That is great news. Greek American says a new anti-white movie was released called Imperium that used old World War II symbols and made it a part of the anti-white narrative. Of course. Yes, indeed. That is their narrative. And that's why we have to approach things vastly differently than they've been approached before. And I think we have it all wrapped up. Let me just make sure over here. 2 checks. It's always splendid going free with all of you wonderful people. The video will be up for the channel membership, and I hope we can get together a set of instructions for those of you who don't want to have the Google monster looking over your shoulder, knowing what you are funding or not funding. We want you all to be as private, as anonymous as you all want to be. And there might also be some options in the future. There are some more tools when it comes to channel membership that once it's up and rolling, I can look into bringing into play. And so some interesting things. So you might be able to fund other places and have that recognized here on YouTube. That would be magnificent as well. Pardon me. I think it's funny when I see content producers get all nervous about taking a drink or of water or whatever they're drinking on air. Like, it's so abnormal to watch someone drink. Like that silence, that little bit of silence where I'm not talking is, you all are going to be like, well, we're leaving now. His lips stop moving. All right. HP 2014 says, do you have a punching bag at your place? I don't right now, but I will tell you that my father, maybe some of you are old enough to remember, and then maybe I'll just briefly answer this one more time, this question from Prism. Maybe some of you are old enough to remember, you could look it up, this piece of this workout machinery for the home that was called Solo Flex. These were these rubber bands, and of course we could not afford a Solo Flex. They were quite expensive. So my father made one, and it was magnificent. It was much better than the actual Solo Flex. It was quite a bit heavier, But that was necessary for the other things that you could do on the solo flex that my father made. I guess we shouldn't really call it a proper solo flex then, since it was his creation, a Körner flex. And attached to this Körner flex was this piece that went to the top that could hold a speed bag, could hold one of those medium heavy bags as well. But I used to burn the speed bag off of that thing regularly. I loved it. I would move back and forth. I could turn 360s, one hand, both hands, eyes closed. I used to love the speed bag. So not anymore. I don't have a punching bag, but I sure as hell did back in the day. And of course I use the heavy bag at the gym as well. And I think we had the question about JF's lovely girlfriend, wife, or I'm not sure, a partner. And a long time ago, she was in a bad way. And during a couple of interviews, and she had a little bit of an episode that was most regrettable, where she was thinking something truly terrifying, and about believing that yours truly was a shape-shifting ghost, and that had haunted her or something of this nature. And it was very sad. I was absolutely just gutted. I was gutted. Try to imagine somebody having a moment like that for whatever was going on. Try to imagine that. I mean, really empathize. That is horrible. So anyhow, I deeply apologized to JF, and we had a real moment. And my heart still goes out to the both of them. And JF and I, when we talk, we were just talking the other day about this thing with DLive. So there's no issue there. And I believe that Mama JF is doing splendidly now. So she's no more issue. And I could not be more delighted with that, because so many people have come and said how much they like that woman. And I guess she's participating more in these streams that he does. And I think that is just a beautiful thing. So that's what happened there. Nobody should make fun of her or anything like that. But yeah, that was a sad time. But now I believe everything is good. So let's see. Oh, that's funny. Scoreshirt said, I paused as I was thinking, and he thought the stream froze. Yes, sometimes I don't take a breath, or I guess I may be talking while the air is going out and coming in. All right, it looks like we got another super chat, but we are closing this down. Maybe one of these days would be fun is I will bring somebody with me, go to a gym with a speed bag, and I presume I could still do it. I mean, why not? I mean, I might have to knock some of the dust off, but it's been years. But I assume I used to be able to really work the nunchucks, the bow staff, a number of tools. So I guess I could still do all of that. I mean, I could still ride a bicycle. So I can't see why. Maybe I just have to dust some of the dust off, but otherwise, and maybe we'll have some fun hitting the speed bag to the point where it's just nothing but a blur. I used to really enjoy that. White healing, $5. No white guilt. That explanation you just made and have made before about why our way works so well would make a great clip. Well, I think HB might be here. Full Null makes clips and some others. So if they see it, then hopefully they will. I would make these clips if I could somehow double up and maybe go backward in time, double up all time somehow. There's no way. Grand Celestial Night, but thank you so much for that $5 and that suggestion. That's a great point you just made. Grand Celestial Night, Jason, congrats on gaining 18,000 subscribers. Let's push for 20,000 and even more. Well, thank you very much. You're the first one to congratulate me for that. Big hats off to you, at least that I saw. If I missed somebody, my apologies, but at least that I saw, you're the first one. So thank you very much. And let me tell you, when you are not a good-looking woman, or you're not, you're making great videos like the great Mark Collette, and or you have some of these other reasons for folks to come show up and to subscribe. And of course, Going Free is absolutely shadow banned as a person can be. And getting just to 8,000, what a feat that is. So yeah, let's see if we can get up to 20 grand and higher. I have a feeling we'll have a potential this year. We'll see though. But thank you very much for that. Great name too. And Seaver Hamlin, thanks for the donation. Okay, thanking for the donation. Thank you so much. Thank you, Seaver, for modding tonight. I had to reach out to him. I'm sure Seaver was in the middle of doing something important, and he immediately dropped it to come and work on something that is even more important, which is service to white well-being. Raymond is here. I didn't even see that. Hello to you, Raymond. Hello, good sir. And hello to your wife. I hope everyone is doing well. Great to see you. Oh, thank God I didn't miss you, that you were here. I've been so involved in the different topics have been covering. So HB, Raymond, Seaver, all here. And who else was here earlier? Someone else was here earlier. Wasn't Spartan. Somebody else. Well, thank you to all of you for showing up. Thank you for another great Going Free and gaining the ground that we've gained. I hope you have learned something today, to this evening, wherever you are, dawn, that you will be able to, whenever you watch this, that you will be able to use in your life to help those around you go free. And look forward with some excitement, I hope, to this channel membership that is coming up here for us, and the opportunity to have some fun. If you know how to create emojis or you don't, and I'm sure it's something that you were well within your ability to learn how to do, and you want to create a couple of emojis and share them with me, and maybe there'll be something that we could use, that would be fantastic, especially if it would be your first contribution to the service of white well-being. Remember that only members will be able to use these emojis. So we want to have something that it can be serious, it can be fun, it can be anything we want them to be, as long as they fit with Going Free and they're not going to get the channel in trouble. You know, not like a couple of letters from the alphabet oriented in a certain way that evokes thoughts of different periods in history that the vagues wouldn't like to hear about. So let's see here. Guten Abend, Jason. Thanks for your time. Some clips on debating respectfully. Brick and Mortar, Mr. Good night, all. Thank you very much. Guten Abend to you, dear friend. And we will, let me just check over here. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Looks like if I miss anybody, I'll make sure to get you next time on Sunday when we are Going Free properly. But of course, that'll be 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, unless the world comes to an end before then. If not, also, you'll be able to see us right here, Mr. George and myself, with Daughter of Albion tomorrow evening, Eastern Standard Time. At least I think. We'll have to look at the time again. We'll have the time up. I think actually Mr. George has already tweeted the time, and we'll make sure that it's out there for you all to see, and make sure that you'll be able to show up and hear from her in her process of going free. It's a very exciting thing. She's a bright lady, so we're bringing folks to Going Free, service of white well-being. Proof of concept just continues. How many more of these victories are we going to have? The sky is the limit, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fantastic going free with you all. Let's do so again real soon. Bye-bye.